the Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game Fireball Hot Take Friday loaded show today. By the way, I have to give a little on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. Our live streaming on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube is presented by the Law Office of Amanda Gentry. I do have to give a little bit of a shout-out today before we get going, if everybody's okay with that. Caroline Fenton, are you okay with that?
I'm totally okay with that.
Are you okay with that, Ian?
Sure.
Okay. I want to give a shout-out to Michael Pope. So many people don't know who Michael Pope is. But Michael Pope was our overnight guy for, gosh, I want to say, how many years is he in? 6 years, 7 years? I mean, I think he's been here longer than I have.
For maybe overnights. At first, when I first started, he wasn't doing overnights.
That's true.
So, yeah, maybe 4 years-ish, something like that.
4 years. He's been around here longer than I have been, honestly. And Michael Pope, I'm going to let people in on a little secret. You ready? Ian, should we let him in on the secret?
If you're ready.
So Michael Pope, whose last day was this morning with our radio station and our company, Michael Pope has the nickname Sturgill. Do you know why Michael Pope has the nickname Sturgill, Caroline?
I do know why, and I do have to say, I think this is my favorite story I have heard about before I joined 102.5 The Game, about 102.5 The Game.
So every Thursday at 5 o'clock, we used to have a segment called Ask the GM. It was a very popular segment, and as much as I miss the GM, I probably miss Ask the GM just as much as I miss the GM himself. In fact, the other day, I could finally start listening to podcasts of the show, and I listened to an Ask the GM, and it was just funny listening to how I wasn't paying attention to one of the callers or whatever. But Ask the GM was a caller-based segment where we'd say, all right, load up the phone, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Best caller for the GM will get whatever the prize pack was. And especially during the summer. But that first call is always so important because once people are like, I don't know if I call, what am I going to do, whatever. So that first call is always so important because it always sets the tone for Ask the GM, 30-minute segment, 5 o'clock, very important part. And we would have, especially during the summer, like if people weren't going to whatever, we would have Pope call in as Sturgill. And we would take his call first every time. And so it'd be, Ask the GM is presented by Bob's Steak at Chap House, Pella Windows and Doors. Sturgill is going to kick us off. Sturgill, you're on with the GM, Floyd Reese. And, maybe you'll go back and listen to a podcast or something, but you had to know. Because Floyd would always laugh every time. And Michael Pope would call in as Sturgill. And he would make his voice like more rednecky every time he called in. So just hey guys, I just wanted to know, Floyd, what your thoughts were on whether or not Tannehill shows the signs of the quarterback for the future or if we need to look somewhere else. And every time Floyd would laugh, Sturgill just gives the best call every time. That's a great call, Sturgill. Here's what I think. And as soon as Pope would call in as Sturgill and would do that, we'd see all the lights light up on the phone lines, and everybody would want to get in with their question for Floyd. But every time he would chuckle, he would laugh. Floyd would laugh every time that Pope called in as Sturgill. And we basically staged a call, to get everybody going or whatever. We used it as a prop. And to know that today was Michael Pope's last day. And Pope was so much more than that. All the sound bites that would coming back from break, Pope would cut those overnight. If I saw a press conference or something on TV, I'd send it to him. I'd be like, hey, Pope, can you cut this for me? And boom, he'd do it perfectly, almost every time. He would engineer a lot of our broadcasts. So, as an example, at Bridgestone Arena, he would engineer the broadcast. And on NBC Sports Network, they would show these old car shows, like these car auctions, where it'd be like a 1964, Buick. And, I don't care about this stuff, like Vroom. But Floyd loved it. We'd sit there. There was a window outside of our radio studio. And he could see, an old car and be like, that's a 73 Chevelle. And I couldn't care less. Well, Pope pretended to care. And Floyd would look at that car, Pope. During breaks at Bridgestone Arena, he would just talk about, look at that car. And Pope would play along with it. I'm like, Pope, do you love these old cars? He's like, no. I'm like, well, what are you doing? He's distracted him from the show. But Michael Pope's a really good guy. And, he's got a family now, and it's crazy to see everybody grow up. Ian's got a family, and Ryan's going to have a family, and it's just crazy to see all of this. But the one thing that I think I've learned in life, if nothing else, over the last, month, is that these memories that we've had, that's what this is all about. So I'm sure people are like, all right, get to the Colts, get to Carson Wentz practicing, and I will in just a second. But the relationships that you make with the people that you care about and the people who care about you, that is to me what this is all about. And Michael Pope is somebody that I care very, very much about. I'm very thankful he was our teammate. Very much behind the scenes, except for when he'd fake a call in on Ask the GM as Sturgill. But he's just a really good guy from a really good family, and I'm just really excited for his future. And everybody around here is going to miss him a lot. So I just wanted to say that to get the show started off. And I'm sure Pope's probably listening right now and is like, please stop talking about me. But no, because we're really, really, really going to miss him. Okay, the Colts. Carson Wentz practiced today. What do we think of it? Because I was shocked when I saw he practiced. And I was reading, the Pro Football Injury Doc, who now I think works for Outkick, but, for years has been, kind of an armchair injury discusser. But he said, in fact, he wrote this up earlier in the week on Carson Wentz. He said that he expected Wentz to play, and that he wrote 2 hours ago when Wentz did practice in a limited capacity. He said, felt this would be the case all along. Wentz is more hurt than he is injured, which is, there's a very fine line there. Like Christian McCaffrey with a hamstring strain, that's an injury.
Mm-hmm. A broken foot. Injury.
Sore shoulder, hurt. So that's where he is. Chow writes B, both ankles are hard, but he is tough, which I think is debatable. And he said that the Colts' best option is 85% of Wentz. Now, I don't think he knows what percentage Wentz is. I don't know what percentage Wentz is, any of that. But the bigger question I have with this Sunday's game for the Titans is this. Are the Titans going to have the killer instinct inside of them to take the Colts out? The Colts are 0-2, staring down 0-3. They know there's one team in the division. They know it. They know Jacksonville's not a threat. They watched Houston last night. We know they're not any good. They know there's one team in this division. It's you. And you're going to get, for at least the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game on Sunday, the best shot the Indianapolis Colts have to offer. The best shot. Do they have the killer instinct? Can they look at a Carson Wentz, who there's no way he's going to be this mobile on Sunday? No way he's going to be able to move around in the pocket and do all the Carson Wentz things no way. Are they going to be able to go in and tee off on him? Are they going to be able to set the edge so that Jonathan Taylor doesn't keep them around in the game? Are they going to keep themselves from busting a coverage here or there that allows Indy to get a freak touchdown to keep them in the game? Are they going to keep themselves from playing sloppy football like they did at the beginning of the Seattle game, where they were dropping passes, blowing coverages, missing field goals? Are they going to be able to allow themselves to not sink back like the Arizona game, fumbling the football early, playing from behind? Can they go out on Sunday? Can they go out, give the ball to Derrick Henry early, catch the ball, block the Colts, move it down the field, get inside the red zone, punch it in for a touchdown, get the pass rush going on Carson Wentz early, make his life miserable, and take a lead and run away with it and dominate the Colts in a game that they should dominate? Can they do that Sunday? Because I'm not a huge believer in Carson Wentz to begin with. And I think that they're still skeptical about Wentz playing, because Brett Hundley got all those reps this week, and he's not going to be elevated off the practice squad if Wentz plays. So they're not giving Jacob Eason any reps this week, which tells me they think there's a chance Wentz won't play. But even if he does play, is this going to be The miracle game where Carson Wentz, like Kirk Gibson in the 1988 World Series, couldn't even stand up and yet hit a home run off of Dennis Eckersley in a game that we all remember? Or is this going to be Carson Wentz tried, Titans made his life miserable, and showed they're the best team in the AFC South? The one thing about the Colts games that I think I've realized over the years, especially when the Titans have either a good team or a team that we think should be good, is that the Colts game has always been a measuring stick game. It has always been one where you look at it and you say, you know what? You can go toe-to-toe with the Colts. Since the AFC South started, when they had Peyton Manning and you had Steve McNair, 2002, the week of the game, the Titans were red hot. They started the year 1-4. They lost a game in November in Baltimore, and other than that, they didn't lose a game the rest of the year. And they played Indianapolis at home, and it was a big divisional showdown. And Sports Illustrated wrote, the Titans are pretenders, not contenders. Titans spanked the Colts in that game, and Fred Miller, the right tackle, walked off the field and said to NFL Films, who's the pretenders now? In 2004, when the Titans window had closed, unbeknownst to us, they won week 1 at Miami, week 2, Indianapolis, Peyton Manning, and I remember leaving that game right after the end of the third quarter because Peyton had lit the Titans up. I think that score was like 38-13. In 2019, the Titans absolutely housed the Cleveland Browns week 1. We're feeling pretty good about the Titans. Feeling good about Mariota in this prove-it year. Mariota's terrible. Spikes the ball on third down. A.J. Brown drops it on fourth down. They lose to the Colts. Last season, could that defense hold up? Big game, defense, special teams. Things that cost you when it really counted last year. Things that cost you, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You want better seeding, better matchups. They lose to the Colts. Can't get off the field, can't catch the ball, can't punt the ball. Awful. The Colts game is always, to me, a measuring stick of what the Titans are. We were feeling good about the 2019 Titans. I go back to that second game where they lost. They played at Indianapolis after Thanksgiving. And when they played that game, we looked at the schedule, and Tannehill was playing pretty well. They got a big win against the Chiefs. They got some wins against teams that weren't great, the Buccaneers and the Chargers. And all of a sudden, the Titans, we find the Titans are kind of right there in contention. They beat a horrible Jacksonville team, and they go on the road to Indy. And I remember saying that whole week, hey, this Indy game, this is going to tell us. They had Indy and Oakland, and all three teams were kind of in the same spot, competing for one of those last wild card spots in the AFC. And I said, this is going to tell us about the Titans. And Indy was hurt in that game. And Indy stayed around, and then boom, Ryan Tannehill hit Khalif Raymond for the bomb. Titans blocked a field goal, returned it for a touchdown, and all of a sudden, they were cruising with Indy in the rearview mirror. This game is a huge game that will tell us about the Titans. The Titans are favored starting today by 5.5 points. The line, I looked at FanDuel earlier today, the line is dropped to 4.5. But the Titans are favored to win. I don't think any of us think Carson Wentz is that good. Plus now he's hurt. Do the Titans have the killer instinct in them on Sunday to go take what we all think is theirs? Or are we going to be shell-shocked like we were against Arizona after the way they played? That's what I'm going to learn this week. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. By the way, Max Halderman's texted me. He used to work here, too, on a part-time basis. He said that his mind is blown that Pope was Sturgill. Pope was Sturgill. Everybody out there, we're letting the secret out today.
I love that story so much.
Pope was Sturgill. 615-737-1025. And that's the question. This Indy game, now that we think Wentz might play, what do we think? And I think that this is the time for the Titans to show us who they really are. Caroline will have her reaction, Ian his, yours as well. 615-737-1025. And coming up next, does Indy have an interesting card to play on Sunday that should definitely scare us. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, we are live here on 102.5 The Game. And, of course, you can stream us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, thanks to the lofts of Amanda Gentry. Let me tell you about my friends at TriStar Moving here on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. TriStar Moving, I hate moving. I hate any inconvenience. I really do. And moving is a huge inconvenience. But when you have friends like I do at TriStar Moving, Garrett and Robert, the owners, and they've become friends after having worked with them and having gotten to know them, you will understand that they make something that is just so dreaded actually kind of a breeze. And that's why I love them. TriStar Moving takes great care of your furniture. I know this because they took great care of my furniture. They take great care of your home. I know this because they took great care of my old home moving everything out, and they took great care of my new home moving everything in. They did it all. They will cover the floors, banisters, railings, door jambs, thresholds, everything. And they are upping the game because Garrett and Robert are that way with TriStar Moving. This company is on the rise, and I'm not just making that up. I am stunned by the progress they've made in the year that I've known them, except for the fact that I know the quality of their work. So if you're looking to move, TriStar Moving, TriStar Movers with 5-star service. Give them a call today, 615-640-1219, or visit their website at nationalmoving.org/radio. They'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nationalmoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
Limping off the field. I can confirm he was limping off the field.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Wouldn't say it deserves a gold star.
We want people to play along.
This is what's crazy.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I want to go last. Can I go last?
Sure.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills? Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're gonna love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
Bring home unstoppable comfort with a new Train heating and cooling system. At Train, we test so it runs. Visit traininfo.com to find your local dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
Hey, Darren McFarland here. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. DraftKings is kicking off another week of action by giving all new customers a can't-miss offer. Listen up. All you have to do is just bet $1 on any football game this week and receive $150 in free bets instantly, no matter what. And this football season, all customers can swing big with the DraftKings same-game parlays. Same-game parlays allow you to combine multiple bets for a bigger payout. This week, place a same-game parlay on any NFL game, and you will be credited up to $25 if your bet loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code 1025GAME to receive $150 in free bets instantly when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That code again, 1025GAME. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, you must be 21 years of age or older, Tennessee only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Ever heard of a cold-like virus called RSV? RSV can cause complications in older adults, including pneumonia. The Evergreen study is assessing if an investigational study vaccine can prevent RSV disease caused by a respiratory syncytial virus in older adults. If you're 60 years of age or older, you may be able to join the Evergreen study. Visit clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV to learn more. That's clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV.
It's
football season, and Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is here to serve you. Right now, they're running a tune-up special for one system for only $55. You heard that right. A great tune-up special for only $55. One of the many ways you can save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. You get 6 months no-interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, locally owned and operated, offering premium service without the premium price. Visit springhillac.com or call them at 615-778-8855.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Talk about quarterback situation. Do you peek at their injury report each day, out of curiosity about what Wentz is doing, or is it still just the same mindset you're ready to play?
Well, I think you have to have some idea. I'm not. There's a lot of uncertainty there. With apparently could be one of three guys, and whoever's out there, we're going to have to execute and be sound and do all those things that good defenses will do.
That was Mike Vrabel. By the way, it is official. Carson Wentz limited today at practice for Indianapolis. He will be a game-time decision Sunday. Zach Kiefer says, I believe he covers the Colts for The Athletic. Zach Kiefer says if Wentz can't go, Colts coach Frank Reich would not commit to starting Jacob Eason on Sunday against the Titans. Said the team is still working through its options. They hate Eason, don't they?
I mean, it kind of makes it obvious. Yes, because I don't even think they wanted to go with Jacob Eason going into the season.
Well, remember,
they were high on Sam Ehlinger. If Sam Ehlinger wasn't hurt, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sam Ehlinger on Sunday.
Remember how this all went down when Wentz broke the foot? And they said, Jacob's our guy.
Yeah.
Because everybody
and
was
then they were like, wait, hold on, no.
Well, everybody was like, yeah, go get Nick Foles. Like, everybody said, you have to go get Foles. And they were like, nope, Jacob's the guy. The Colts media covering practice, and I'll give the Colts media credit because they don't pander to the Colts as much as the national media, I feel like, panders to the Colts. Mm-hmm. But the Colts media, they were saying, well, honestly, Sam Ehlinger's looked better at practice than Jacob Eason has. And then it went from Jacob's the guy to, well, let's see how they play in training camp. Then Ehlinger gets hurt in the preseason. And now push came to shove. They had to run Eason out there. And they don't really want to run Eason out there if they have to this week. So my guess is they carry three quarterbacks on Sunday if Wentz plays. So Wentz will play. They'll elevate Hundley from the practice squad. And they'll have Eason. All three will be active, I would guess, if Wentz plays. But that Hundley would be the backup unless the game's out of hand, and then Eason would play. It's very weird how they're going to do this, and maybe not smart. I mean, if you don't love the kid, like if you don't think the kid can play, get rid of him, right?
Right.
But anywho, that's that note. Braden Smith, their right tackle, out for Sunday, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to put Carson Wentz back there with an ankle injury that, from all accounts, and I'm not a doctor, but I think that the ankle can get worse, I would probably be worried to not have a tackle in there. Now, Bud Dupree didn't practice today, so maybe Bud doesn't play and those two things cancel each other out. But Julian Davenport will probably be the right tackle on Sunday for Indianapolis. Eric Fisher, their left tackle, is coming off of an Achilles injury. So that great Indianapolis offensive line that we always hear about may not be the same. And I think that's another thing that I would look at and worry about if I was Indianapolis as well.
All factors considered, with the offensive line banged up, Carson Wentz obviously banged up. If Carson Wentz does start and play, do you think that's a little bit reckless on the Colts' behalf?
So I think the Colts are in a tough spot. Because here's your options. Don't play Carson Wentz, start 0-3, and be 2 games behind the Titans with the tiebreaker.
Going into Miami and Baltimore.
And as we learned last year, that tiebreaker with the Titans can be pretty important. I mean, over the years, the tiebreaker of Indy and the Titans has mattered a lot. So if you don't play Wentz, you lose. Just, unless the Titans screwed up, which we all know the Titans are capable of. But for a second, let's put that off to the side. If you play Wentz and he gets hurt more and you don't have a starting right tackle and Wentz gets hurt more, your season is absolutely over. If Wentz gets hurt more and misses a steady chunk and it's Hundley or Eason or whoever they sign off the street, you have no chance of making the playoffs in the AFC. I'm not a doctor. I think that if I was Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, I think I would need the doctor to tell me Carson can play and the likelihood of him injuring the ankle more is not great. Then I think I'd feel comfortable doing it. If I was told, hey, he can go out there, but without Braden Smith at right tackle, he's not going to be able to move around, and he's going to be a sitting duck for that Titans pass rush, and if they take him out, that could be the end of our season, then I wouldn't play him. It kind of reminds me, although the stakes are much different, a couple of years ago, the Titans were trying to make the playoffs, and the wild card was the route they had to go, and a tiebreaker with Pittsburgh was all that really mattered. And the Titans played the Saints in a game that wouldn't hurt them if they lost. But if they beat the Saints, it also wasn't going to really help them because this was all about AFC record as far as the tiebreaker was concerned. So the Titans played the Saints, but at the same time, the Jets played the Steelers, and the Jets beating the Steelers was way more important than the Titans playing the Saints. In fact, I was sitting in the club level that day, and I went inside and watched the Jets-Steelers game on the TV and the Titans game on the TV. I was kind of going back and forth between the two because that Jets game was so much more important, the Jets-Steelers game. Well, Derrick Henry had a sore hamstring, and they sat Derrick Henry in that game, didn't play him. And it was like, well, competitively, Henry could have played, and he played the next week when it really mattered against Houston, and he played the next weeks in the playoffs, but they just didn't feel like playing Derrick Henry that week was worth it. And they ended up going to the AFC title game in large part because of Derrick Henry, so it ended up being the right call. So to your point, is it reckless if they play Carson Wentz? It depends, can the injury get worse on Sunday? And if it can get worse on Sunday, and my right tackle's out, as Braden Smith is out for them, I would not play Carson Wentz on Sunday, but that's just me, and I'm not hearing the info from the doctors and the trainers that Frank Reich and Chris Ballard are.
Because I think starting the season is a legitimate concern. Starting the season 0-3 is a legitimate concern for the Colts, because that's especially going into Miami game that they could win and a Baltimore game that is going to be rough. But I think you're looking down the stretch. They have a game against the Texans and then 49ers, so they have kind of a rough stretch coming up. I go back to what I've said this week, that if this feels like if Carson Wentz plays in this game, advantage still goes to Tennessee.
Sure.
So you're putting Carson Wentz in a game that you may or may not win. This is not a lock win if Carson Wentz plays. You may or may not still go 0-3 even if Carson Wentz plays. Could he get injured further? Without a completely healthy offensive line, the risk is there. A guy who's coming in with an injury and is also very injury prone. So that leaves you with a possibility of having Carson Wentz being without Carson Wentz against Miami, against Baltimore, against San Francisco. So I just think that the risk is so incredibly high for
at that point, you're 1-5. And if you're 1-5, and I know that they made the playoffs at 1-5 a couple of years ago, you're probably not going to make the playoffs at 1-5 this year.
Right.
Especially when you still got Tampa Bay on your schedule. You have another game with the Titans on your schedule. I think the Colts are in trouble if Wentz gets more hurt. But I also do think the Colts are in trouble if they don't beat the Titans. I mean, this is a tough spot to be in.
They're in a tough position.
But as we said the other day, I don't think they have anybody to blame but themselves. When you depend on people who are undependable. Is the right word?
Is that the right word?
It doesn't sound like
not
the right
dependable.
Word.
I don't think undependable.
Independable is not the right word.
No, that's not a word.
Ian, what's the word I'm looking for here?
I don't know.
Dependable.
Not dependable. I don't know if there is anything other than that.
When you count on people that you do not think are dependable, or who everybody else thinks is not dependable, and you're banking on it, this is unfortunately a situation you find yourself in. And I said this to TD yesterday. This is the reverse of the 2018 game where Marcus Mariota, we woke up on a Sunday, and it was week 17, winner take all, Sunday night football, Titans and Colts, and we woke up to Adam Schefter tweeting out that Mariota was out. And I remember that day. We did a 4-hour Jared and the GM special leading into the pregame show because it was such a big game. We did a 4-hour Jared and the GM special, and I remember Floyd sitting there and saying, Blaine Gabbert can make every throw that we would ask Marcus to make. And I felt like that was the coach walking into the locker room saying, guys, we're going to be okay. We got Blaine. And in reality, you never could beat that Colts team with Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. And that's why Blaine Gabbert's not here anymore and Ryan Tannehill is. And so I feel like it's the opposite of this, where Indy's trying to play this guy because they know they can't win without him. But to your point, is the one win worth the damage that it could do to Wentz? And I got to say, I don't know. But it's not a risk I would really want to take. But that's kind of their problem, right?
I also would like to thank our thesaurus, Adam Vinken, who says unreliable is probably the word that we're looking for there.
Unreliable.
Trying to rely on people that are unreliable.
Sure, but there's got to be like a word that is dependable.
Not
that
dependable.
That is the converse of that.
Not dependable.
When you count on people who are not dependable. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's
sure. I don't know. Words are hard.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Coming up next. You think the Colts are going to let Derrick Henry run all over him? Because I've been playing with the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You can get these over-unders and stuff. And I do wonder, if Derrick Henry, because this is one of the things, too, about just mauling the Colts this week, which is if Derrick Henry takes over the game, they're going to lose. And they know it. So they're not going to let that happen. So we'll get to that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let me tell everybody out there about my friends at Edmunds. That's right. Buying a car can be overwhelming, especially now that the demand is back in full swing. Lucky for you, my friends at Edmunds have been taking the stress out of car shopping for over 50 years. Edmunds editors drive over 500,000 miles every year, testing thousands of hours on hundreds of new vehicles. They review almost every car on the market and rank the best ones in each category so you can narrow your search and compare options side by side to find the best vehicle for you. When you're ready, Edmunds makes it easy to find options in your area with accurate price estimates. Edmunds has helpful filters so you can search by the color, model, special features, engine type, drivetrain, price, distance, and more. They even show you dealerships that are offering home delivery. Edmunds is here to help guide you to your perfect vehicle. Visit Edmunds.com to see their best car rankings and search for vehicles near you. That's Edmunds, EDMUNDS.com, because for cars, there's Edmunds.
Titans, Colts. Division rivals renew acquaintances in Week 3 at Nissan Stadium. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard, live from Rock Bottom Brewery and Restaurant on Broadway. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Darren McFarland here. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. DraftKings is kicking off another week of action by giving all new customers a can't-miss offer. Listen up. All you have to do is just bet $1 on any football game this week and receive $150 in free bets instantly, no matter what. And this football season, all customers can swing big with the DraftKings same-game parlays. Same-game parlays allow you to combine multiple bets for a bigger payout. This week, place a same-game parlay on any NFL game, and you will be credited up to $25 if your bet loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code 1025GAME to receive $150 in free bets instantly when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That code again, 1025GAME. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, you must be 21 years of age or older, Tennessee only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
The C10 Nationals are here Friday, October 1st and Saturday, October 2nd at Nashville Superspeedway. The C10 Nationals, one of the largest GM truck shows in the world. Don't miss the autocross, the burnout contest, the dyno, along with vendor midway swap meet, cruise the track, and more. Cap it all off with a huge award ceremony. Spectator tickets are just $20 per day. Trucks can register at the gate day of the event. Visit C10Nationals.com. That's C10Nationals.com for more information.
Get the ultimate mouth guard with affordable coverage from Delta Dental of Tennessee. Offering a large network of dentists and a variety of plans, you'll get better coverage than a defensive secondary. Learn more at deltadentaltn.com.
We can see your smile, and we think you should be able to see it too. With Delta Dental of Tennessee and Delta Vision, we can improve your overall well-being by keeping your teeth and eyes healthy. Visit deltadentaltn.com to find an affordable plan.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory authorized store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
Tonight, the Nashville Sounds continue their home series against the Cleveland Indians affiliate, the Columbus Clippers. Coverage begins at 6:50 on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
When you face the Colts, what are some of the things you know going in? The game's going to be like this, or how is there any style that they play that always is consistent?
Yeah, they always play very hard in all 4 quarters. Like Coach said, it kind of similar to us and their mentality. It's always a tough battle. Always comes down to the wire. They're a great team. They have great coaches over there and great players that play hard throughout the week.
There you go, Derrick Henry talking about the Colts. So all eyes are going to be on Derrick Henry. According to the FanDuel Sportsbook app, anytime touchdown scorer, Derrick Henry minus 230. That's the FanDuel Sportsbook app's way of saying Derrick Henry will score a touchdown on Sunday.
Right.
Whatever you want to make of that.
What would you think it would be Derrick Henry scoring 3 touchdowns?
That's got to be what, like plus 500?
I don't know. I don't think he would be plus 500, though.
Okay, here you go. Derrick Henry minus 230.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor minus 110. I think that's a bad bet.
Why?
Because I think deep down inside, like the Titans, everything that you think about the Titans and Henry, the Titans are thinking about Jonathan Taylor. Like, they're not going to let Jonathan Taylor win this game. Like, if I'm the Colts.
But to score a single touchdown?
I'm not letting Jonathan Taylor win this game.
I don't think that's a bad bet. I think if anyone on that Colts team is scoring a touchdown, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor.
A.J. Brown plus 105, Julio plus 145, Michael Pittman plus 195, Zach Pascal plus 200. By the way, when you just start mentioning the players that are in this list, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, or Jonathan Taylor, Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman Jr., which one would you rather have?
I think the former.
See, this is why they should kick the Colts. They should, with an injured Wentz, they should kick the crap out of the Colts on Sunday. That's my thing. This is like the killer instinct moment. Player props. The only one they have right now is the any game touchdown scorer. I'm trying to find the rushing total for Derrick Henry. I don't think it's up yet on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. But if you had to set a number for Derrick Henry over under rushing yards, what would you say?
That's tough. I would say probably like 120.
So I was going to put it at 98.
Okay.
Because I think the Colts, Matt Eberflus, their defensive coordinator, was talking about Derrick Henry earlier this week. I just think that he's not going to let Henry win the game. Here's what he said.
When you face a Derrick Henry, is there a goal in mind as far as whether it's touches, yards per attempt? What's the general goal on a player like him?
Yeah, I mean, what you're trying to do there is and again, every team's trying to do the same thing. As you look at all the defenses and defensive coordinators across the league, everybody will say the same thing. Hey, limit the explosive runs. Get him to stop his feet in the hole, and those gang tackle. Everybody will say the same thing. Try to get him to go backwards or sideways, and in the run game. And easier said than done. And those guys. Everybody will say that, and that's what we have to do is play as a unit and play as a defense to be able to limit his plays.
So with that, I think they're going to just bring the safeties down. I think it's going to be man for man, even though they're not a man for man team, they're a zone team. I think it's going to be that soft zone, and I think AJ and Julio will be able to just sneak wherever they want, and Tannehill just pitch and catch. I don't think they're going to let AJ go deep and burn somebody for a touchdown, but I could see throwing it short to AJ and him turning around and throwing somebody off. And there's only going to be one guy to beat. So I don't think they're going to let Derrick Henry run all over him. But Derrick will get yards on Sunday.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
They play that soft zone, and that's how they are.
How much do you think, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, how much do you think the Titans are going to use Derrick Henry in the passing game this week?
0.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give it, I think he might have a catch.
Okay.
This idea of the Derrick we saw Sunday catching a bunch of passes, that it? I don't think that's something that's going to continue. Like, I think that he'll be a factor a little bit, but not.
Why not?
Because he's not good enough at doing it. It's one thing to do it for one game.
Yeah.
It's another thing to ask Derrick Henry to catch a ball 5 times every game. And I just don't see that happening. So, like, maybe a catch. But that's no knock on Derrick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to your phones. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. Havo has been waiting patiently. He'll kick us off today. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Havo.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good.
So I just wanted to get your opinion on it. I know you touched on saying their offensive line is not fully healthy, and they really don't know who they're going to start at quarterback. So my question to you is, on the defensive side, do you try to make it try to pressure the quarterback as much as you can and stop Jonathan Taylor and blitz a lot, or do you just play conservative? And another question is, do you think A.J. Brown rebounds from last week's performance? I'll hang up and listen to you guys.
There you have it. Let's hit the defensive side of this first.
Mm-hmm.
Do you come after Wentz and Taylor and make Pittman and Pascal and Doyle beat you? Or do you play it safe and say, okay, let's just not give up the big play. They may be able to move it a little bit, but, kind of lock those receivers down and – try to win with 4 and try to get to Wentz and move him off the spot, but don't be too aggressive.
If I am the Titans, I'm going to try and force Carson Wentz, if he does play, to throw the ball as much as possible. I'm
going to tell you why I feel comfortable with blitzing a lot, or why I feel comfortable with bringing 8 in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Fulton. I last week, Fulton, the Cardinal game,
turned a new leaf with Christian Fulton.
Well, I wasn't against Fulton. He just didn't play as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be like, yeah, he's ready to go. Like, I just didn't play. And when he did play, he wasn't, he was as bad as everybody else out there. I think you can, if Fulton can go match up with DK Metcalf, you can match up Fulton with, this is me, you can match up Fulton with Pascal or with
Pittman Jr., yeah.
Yeah, you can, and I wouldn't worry about that. And Jenkins has been in the league long enough to be able to match up with these guys too.
Right.
So then the question is, how do you feel about Byard on Fulton, on Doyle, or Cruikshank on Doyle? And I don't feel great about it. This may be interesting to see what they do with their DBs and linebackers. Maybe you take Cruikshank as the safety off, you put Molden back out there, and you also put Chris Jackson in, and you kind of have Chris Jackson as like a hybrid safety corner on Jack Doyle. But I think Byard is probably focused in the running game, and I think you need Simmons and Autry to take care of business up front, and that's where you need Evans and Brown and Long Jr. and those guys to make the tackles when Taylor gets there. But I think they're going to be comfortable with sending guys because I feel good with the corners man for man. Brad is up next here on Stillman & Company. Thank you for calling the show. Go ahead, Brad.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. How you doing today?
Good.
So I want to talk a little bit about the fans. Jared, I know you remember the days of Adelphia Coliseum, and those were every bit as crazy of an environment of, the 12s that they have in Seattle. But it was a different time, and it was also a different product on the field. We had back-to-back 13-3 seasons, and they were 15-1 at home the first 2 years in Nissan Stadium.
Sure.
And I'm kind of worried right now because since the start of 2019, the Titans, including the playoff game, they're 500 at home, and they keep having these real big duds. I mean, last week I know we talked a lot about that, but I really feel like the Titans need to seize the opportunity. You said last week, hey, that was a good crowd, but I know what you're comparing it to. You're comparing it to the Adelphia Coliseum days. Those were crazy crowds. And I think that if the Titans want to get back to anything close to that, they got to start winning these big games that they have that they might not be the easiest game in the world to win. They need to really put on a good show and stop playing
Brad,
these.
I appreciate your call. This is me. Like those Titans, people forget. Like those Titans didn't put on a great show every week, and it's no disrespect to them, but they beat a Steeler team that was no good and didn't make the playoffs 9-7. They beat the Bengals to open the stadium by 1 point. Like, yeah, it's nice to go out there and put on a show and win 41-14. Fans just want to go see a team that wins. They just want to see their team win. In fact, sometimes the wins at the end of the game are the ones you remember the most. Like, I remember the Music City Miracle. I remember my dad jumping up and down and with words that I can't even say on the radio that he didn't say very often when I was 10 years old, and I remember that. And, if you blow out the Buffalo Bills, you don't have the same memory. Not to say that I would have preferred, heart rate stuff, getting older up there. Got to worry about that thing. But I guess I'm saying it's never going to be like it was in the old day. Nashville as a city is just, it's never going to be that way. There is no way. No, like, Seattle is a Seattle. It's just, but every time you play a good team, those fans are going to say, let's go to Nashville. It's a great thing about Nashville, but it's hard for you to sit there and say, okay, well, the Buffalo Bills, all those fans live up in, the Northeast, and it's freezing cold and it's awful up there, and they're diehard fans, and they finally have a good team, and they're going to blow a couple grand coming here. Like, that's what they do. I would never blow a couple grand coming to Nashville, but that's because I live in Nashville. But that's kind of the way that the stadium is. So maybe I'm defeatist, I don't know, but I just kind of feel like this, you'll have some good crowds, and the more you win, the more it'll be hot in the city and all that stuff. But I also wouldn't take in last year's record because last year was COVID, so forget about that. But, I thought the crowd was good week one, and I don't think Indy brings a bunch of fans. They bring some. I don't think they bring a bunch. I think the crowd will be good Sunday. But as far as we need it back to the Adelphia Coliseum days, I'm worried those days may be gone. Just the dynamic of the city and the way it's built. 615-737-1025. We'll get back to your Titans thoughts. We'll do that coming up next here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Invigorate Health. It's the weekend, and you remember when you were younger and you had the energy to actually do things on the weekend. Well, my friends at Invigorate Health want to get you back there. Whether you just need their IV therapies, and they've got it all. They'll bring the IV therapy to you, a concierge service as well. They've got the IV therapy will increase mental capacity, relieve stress, revitalize skin and hair. It'll bolster your immune system, full body detox, and much, much more. If you're getting over being sick, maybe IV therapy is what you need. If you need to just lose that belly fat, then no matter how much you work out, no matter what you eat, you can't. They've got the M-Sculpt Neo, which is that non-invasive electromagnetic light that will lower that belly fat by 30%, and it will increase the muscle mass by 25%. It'll help you get those abs right then and there. I love the M-Sculpt Neo. Again, 25% muscle on average, 30% fat on average. And again, it's that HIFEM plus, the high intensity electromagnetic field that they have with the M-Sculpt Neo. You go in there for a consultation. They'll take your blood. They'll see what your testosterone levels are. Maybe you need a little bit more. And they've got therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you in mind. Invigorate Health. Again, my friends at Invigorate Health, InvigorateHealthTN.com. Just put in Google, Invigorate Health. Give them a call. You want to feel younger. Talk to my friends at Invigorate Health. Again, InvigorateHealthTN.com. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you. Get that consultation. Get that thing going and feel like yourself again. Invigorate Health, InvigorateHealthTN.com.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. This afternoon will warm to the mid and upper 70s under mostly sunny skies. Other than a cold front on Saturday night with no rain, we're staying quiet this weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car. To meet certification standards, a car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Big one this week, folks. Monday night matchup. NFC East battle. Philly and Dallas. And FanDuel Sportsbook is about to make it even bigger. Hey, everybody. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. You can end the NFL week right by winning $150 on a $5 bet. Both of these teams have explosive offenses, kind of like the Cowboys. Of course, it's a rivalry game. Do whatever you want to do. Just do it on the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. It's easy to use. It's safe and secure. The payouts are fast. It is sports betting made simple. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up with promo code Joe102 this week before Dallas takes on Philadelphia. You win $150 on a $5 bet exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Robbie Stanley.
That size and that speed just doesn't grow on trees. That can be something that you can really turn into.
Joe Rexrode.
Just hold out and somebody will call in the bad signal.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
How do you feel like, this week of, practice went just following a, big win, and do you feel good about where this team is at heading?
Yeah, I think, it's the same every week. There's some good, there's some bad, and stuff that we're going to continue to try to clean up. That's why we practice. It's never going to be perfect. But I feel like that, there's good energy. We're excited to play. Excited to go back out there at home and try to win against a division opponent.
That was Mike Vrabel. Let me just state for the record that I think the Titans should just slug the Colts. I think it's going to be a harder game on Sunday than maybe we're making it out to be. But I know that if Floyd was still here, boy, he'd be mad at some of the things I've said this week. He would not be okay with us looking at the possibility of Carson Wentz not playing and saying, well, even if Carson Wentz does play, I'm not sure that we got to be all that worried about. Ooh, would he be mad? I know that, and so when I say I know that, gets me a little worried because I know how he would feel. But I'm just saying.
Well, I stand by the take that I think that we both made going into this season, that we thought that this would be a win even with Carson Wentz. So without Carson Wentz, it all feels like the factors are pointing in the Titans' way. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy win. I'm not going to say it's, signed, sealed, delivered. Titans are 2-1, but it kind of feels like it.
Just keep thinking of that Titans-Kansas City game.
Oh, my goodness. Do you still have that cut of him being like, they have a chance to win?
That was funny. He literally texted me, I think it was that night or the next morning, saying, hey, we need to put something together here for Jared.
Boy, did he get a kick out of that one. Yeah, because they were playing the Chiefs, and I thought no way they could win. And, he's like, no, there's a way. And they did find a way to win. Is that the only time he ever texted you something like that in the 5 years we all worked together?
Well, something like that probably, yeah.
That's hilarious. Let's go to your text, 615-737-1025. Text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in there on a Fireball Hot Take Friday?
One texter texts in and says, play action will be successful with 8 or 9 in the box for the Titans.
See, I think the thing you got to realize about the Colts is the way that they play defense, it's more the contained defense than it is the stop-you defense. So the play action will work. It's worked against the Colts. They've hit a couple of bombs on the Colts. But the Colts, if they're bringing 8 or 9 in the box, now you've got A.J. and Julio pretty much singled up. And if A.J. and Julio are singled up, I'm sorry. They make too much money. Well, Julio makes too much money, and A.J. will make too much money for them to not be able to take advantage of that and win you the game. I think it's that simple. I do wonder, as much as the talk has been about Derrick Henry, if A.J. and Julio are kind of the answers here this week, because I think the Colts are scared to death of Derrick Henry. And they're going to say, hey, he's eaten our rear end so many times. We're fine with losing to Julio Jones. We're not losing to Derrick Henry. It's that baseball theory of I'm not letting that guy beat me. So runners second and third and only one out, and this guy comes to the plate, put him on. That kind of thing. I think this is similar. I don't think the Colts will give Derrick Henry a fastball to hit on Sunday.
John Michael texts in and says, I hope Wentz does play. This team needs to see good quarterbacks and play against them all year to be ready if they are a playoff team, which I think they are. It will better the team now and prepare them for better quarterbacks down the road. Playing against a third stringer does nothing for this team's progress.
You buy that?
No.
I don't either.
Not really. It sounds really good to be like, we need good competition because we need to be refined and tailored going into the playoffs. No. I mean, it sounds good, but I don't agree.
Do you think that the Colts have any chance to beat the Titans? Any serious chance without the Titans just not showing up if Brett Hundley or Jacob Eason plays quarterback?
I mean, I don't like saying no because that sounds so definitive and so like, oh, the Titans are great and the Colts have no. It sounds cocky and it sounds homery, but if you want to break it down and look at the numbers, no. I mean, barring any unforeseen circumstance, knock on wood, any kind of injury, any kind of silly mistakes that the Titans may make. But right now, where it stands, if you're just looking on paper, especially with Brett Hundley or Jacob Eason in the game, I mean, I think that the chances are fairly slim.
Ian, do you think that if Brett Hundley starts at quarterback Sunday that the Colts have a legitimate chance to win?
I don't know. I don't know about legitimate, but I am worried that their offensive line is really going to come out hard and strong and dominate the Titans' defensive line, and they're going to run the ball a lot. I do have a worry of that. Even if they can stack the box and go one-on-one with, Pittman and Pascal out there, I'm starting to worry a little bit about it, to be honest. Yeah.
I'm more worried about the Titans just screwing up. Like the Titans go out there, fumble the football, like they have the first 2 games inside their own 15, and Derrick Henry fumbled the football, which does happen from time to time, though I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm more worried about that.
I think it's the Titans' game to lose.
Yeah, I'm more worried about that than I am the idea of the Titans getting beaten by Indianapolis. And that's just me. Now, the reason that I disagree with the caller about the idea of playing a third-string quarterback's not going to help them. First of all, they played Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, so they'll be okay. And the second thing is, I think, too, one big thing that the Titans have in their advantage, the road to the Super Bowl. The road. The road is so important. Remember we were talking about the TD yesterday, and I said, can they go on the road 4 times or 3 times in a Super Bowl? Can they go on the road 3 times and beat Russell Wilson in Seattle in order to get to the Super Bowl? So if they make the playoffs, and let's say they host a game against the Raiders, and then they go from the Raiders on the road to the Ravens, and then they go on the road from the Ravens to the Chiefs, then they have to play Tampa Bay. Like, can Derrick Henry run through? The key is to not have to do that. I know everybody loves to be the best, you got to beat the best. I know everybody loves that, but matchups kind of play a role here, and sometimes you get the most favorable matchup by winning the most games. I mean, if you can win, like Kansas City lost last week. The Titans have 1 loss, and it's an NFC loss. If the Titans can find a way, and this division, boy, did you see the Texans last night? Woof. Like, this division is going to be so bad that if the Titans can find a way, they could be the top seed in the AFC this year. Just by attrition. They don't have to play Cleveland like Baltimore does. They don't have to play Pittsburgh like Baltimore and Cleveland do.
They don't have to play Tampa Bay.
They don't have to play Tampa Bay this year like Indy does. They don't have to play, like right now, the Raiders look good, and everybody loves Justin Herbert, and Teddy Bridgewater's played some pretty good ball in Denver, and they've got Kansas City. Like, maybe Kansas City loses 1 more game than you do, and you somehow get the top seed, and like the road is so important. So especially this point in the year, I care about the stacking wins. You got the Jets and the Jags coming up. Stack, 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 stack. And stack some more. And then hopefully, you can steal one of those Bills-Chiefs games and maybe survive the Rams. And if you can do that, maybe you've got a shot of having a great season and that road to the playoffs. Now, and I've told the story thousands of times, but instead of Kansas City having to host the Titans and then go to New England and go to Baltimore to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they ended up getting to stay at home, and they got to play the Titans and the Texans. And that made it a lot easier for them. So I much rather play Brett Hundley than Carson Wentz, though I do not fear Carson Wentz. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Is 0-3 a death sentence for the 2021 Indianapolis Colts? We'll discuss next. Plus, Corey Curtis from News 2 next hour as well. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. The biggest game of Week 3 is the Monday night matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. And FanDuel Sportsbook is about to make it even bigger because they're giving new customers 30-1 odds on either team to win. That means that you can end the NFL week right by winning $150 on a $5 bet. I'm rolling with the Eagles. I'm rolling with the Eagles, people. I'm just telling you. Maybe they'll lose. I don't know, but I'm going with the Eagles here. FanDuel is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid as little as 24 hours. Just sign up with the promo code JGM this week before Dallas takes on Philly, and you could win $150 on a $5 bet. Remember to use promo code JGM so they know that I sent you. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
The voice of reason.
I don't know how you could watch that performance and think that there was anything positive about it.
The voice of the fan.
The performance was a D-.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
312 Pizza Company is family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. And always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open 7 days a week and located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Hey, this is Jared, the owner of MTGRT.com. If your mortgage rate is not in the twos, then you need to call me now. We are locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. That's right, you heard it right. Locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. Text me on my personal cell at 615-969-2257 or fill out a few pieces of information on our website, MTGRT.com. MTGRT.com is the proud sponsor of Paul Feinbaum, heard on 1025 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Mark Howard here to tell you about my friends at Apple Collision Centers. We all know being in a collision is not fun. Neither is all the stress that comes with it, and that's where Apple Collision comes in. Let them take care of everything for you. That's insurance, repair, and your rental details. They've got 3 convenient locations in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Their managers, Tommy Rippey, Daniel Neville, and Chris Brooks and Marty Denson, combined for over 75 years experience. So stop in today and tell them Mark sent you. Online at applecollisioncenters.com.
It's football season, and Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is here to serve you. If your AC or heater is old and inefficient, you can replace it with up to 60 months no monthly interest financing for qualified buyers. That's right, 60 months no monthly interest financing for qualified buyers. One of the many ways you can save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer 6 months no interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, offering premium service without the premium price. Visit springhillac.com or call them at 615-778-8855.
MTSU football returns to Floyd Stadium October 2nd for the annual Blackout game against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Kickoff at 6 p.m. The official Blackout ticket t-shirt package on sale now for just $15. Floyd Stadium provides guaranteed fun for fans of all ages with the Blue Raider Beer Garden featuring Steel Barrel Brewery, the Family Fun Zone offering inflatables, carnival games, and an ice cream station. Get tickets at goblueraiders.com/tickets and enter promo code Blackout2021. Go Blue Raiders.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
1025 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 1025 The Game. Corey Curtis, news 2 in about 10 minutes or so. Injury report out for the Titans. Anthony Ferkser is out. They have subsequently promoted Tommy Hudson from the practice squad. My guess is everybody get your Michael Pruitt jerseys out, which, I got to be honest. Who said bring in Michael Pruitt the day he was cut by San Francisco? Like, bring back Michael Pruitt, please. Thank you. Caleb Farley out with a shoulder injury. We worried about Caleb Farley?
I've been worried about Caleb Farley for so long. Yes, this is an extra added layer of worry, but I've been worried about Caleb Farley since April 14th.
You know what that sounds like? The person who's like, oh, I thought I loved that band when they were, an indie band.
I'm very hipster about my concern with Caleb Farley. I was concerned about Caleb Farley before everyone else was concerned about Caleb Farley.
Dude, Caleb Farley, man. Remember, fat guys stay fat, dumb guys stay dumb, injured guys stay injured.
He's not fat. Never talked to him, so I don't know if he's dumb. Let's just go ahead and say he's not.
Virginia Tech's good school.
Yeah, so he's not dumb. Maybe he's injured.
He is injured.
But he's young.
Fat guys stay fat, dumb guys stay dumb, injured guys stay injured. Anywho, I think this is going to be the one, though, that hopefully Robinson learns his lesson from. That he's like, okay, I can't take hurt guys that nobody else will take.
I understand the thought process of, we can get this guy who is supposed to be the best defensive player in the draft at pick 22. What a value. We're gonna look back on this if he's able to contribute to this team like he was a great value pick. But if he's healthy enough to contribute to this team.
I think they should have been scared when he had the second back surgery. That was when it should have been like, whoa. Because, Jeffrey Simmons had a torn ACL. So everyone's going to be like, well, it worked with Simmons. But it's torn ACL.
ACL versus...
Everybody has torn ACL.
And I'm not a doctor, so I don't necessarily know the severity of Caleb Farley's injury. But just from my outsider opinion, back and spine sounds a little bit more nerve-wracking than a torn ACL.
Yeah, no thank you on that one. So we'll see how that progresses, but it doesn't seem to look very good for the Titans. Derek Roberson, by the way, also out with a knee injury. How much of a hole are the Colts in if they lose on Sunday? Now, I will say this. I think you're going to get the best effort you have ever seen out of the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. They are going to. This is why the Titans, there's going to be this is like a boxing match. They're going to have to take the first punch from Indianapolis, and then they're going to have to start giving body blow after body blow early and kind of sink Indianapolis's hopes and then kind of make it a long day for them. That's the way the Titans should win if they do win. The way I'd like to see them win on Sunday. But how much of a hole is Indy in if they lose this game? We know there are two teams in this division, Titans and Colts. Mm-hmm. Now, I have thought all along the Titans were better than the Colts, but the Titans are 1-1, the Colts are 0-2, and you can argue that if Wentz stays healthy, they beat the Rams last week. They didn't, but you can make that argument. If Wentz plays, doesn't play, stays healthy this year, if they're 0-3, and the Titans are 2-1 with the tiebreaker, with the Jets and the Jags coming up, can the Titans dust the Colts in the first 6 weeks of the season? Could this be something where Indy looks at themselves and says, oh my goodness, how are we ever going to catch up to the Titans? Now, they'll tell themselves that they started off 1-5 in 2018, but they don't have the quarterback they had in 2018. And that's a big difference. And the Titans are a better team than the Titans were in 2018. And the Texans were a factor in 2018. They're not anymore. So I do wonder. I still think Indy's at play for a wild card, even if they start 0-3 with the 7-team playoff and with the 17th game. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if the Titans can put some serious cushion early on in the division race.
Well, let's just say the Titans get a win on Sunday. They're already ahead in divisional race, and Indy's looking down the scope of a pretty tough stretch. And also, last segment, we're talking about the road to a playoff race, the road to the Super Bowl. Indy's road to the Super Bowl, Indy's road in the playoff gets much more difficult the more and more they fall behind, because Indy has that Tampa Bay game. The Titans have the benefit there of being able to play New Orleans over Tampa Bay this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm absolutely not counting the Colts out if they go 0-3, but their road just gets that much more difficult.
The other thing to think about, too, when we talk about road, Indy's a dome team. Dome teams do not play well in the playoffs on the road. Mm-hmm. If they're a wild card, they don't get to host a playoff game. That could be huge for Indianapolis. I'm looking at their schedule right now. Okay, let's say they lose Sunday, they're 0-3. At the Dolphins with Wentz. Win or loss?
I'll say a win.
Okay, so now they're 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
At the Ravens with Wentz.
Loss.
1-4. Texans.
Win.
At the 49ers.
Loss.
2-5.
4 or 5.
2-5. Titans again. Now, see, that's a bury you game. That if this plays out the way we're talking about right now, Week 8 in Indy on Halloween is the shove it up their rear end and, don't even look back game.
And
if you take care of business the way you should take care of business this year.
And, I was going to say, and Indy's coming off of a tough stretch, but also so are the Titans. Coming off of a tough stretch going into Indianapolis.
Going into that game?
Mm-hmm.
Are they?
Aren't they?
Well, they got the Jags.
It's Jets week 4.
Jags.
And then Rams. And then Chiefs,
Bills,
Buffalo, Indy.
So that could be a little tough. That could be a little difficult. And that's why you got to, if you can just take one of those two, you win the games you're supposed to.
Because, the Titans already stole a game I didn't think they were going to win, but they also lost a game that I thought that they were going to win.
But now you're talking about, in that case, it being 5-2,
mm-hmm.
or 4-3,
mm-hmm.
and them being 2-5, with the trip to Buffalo still on their plate, and Tampa Bay still on their plate, and then they still got to go to Arizona later in the year. I mean, this is look, there's going to be some wins on the Colts schedule because they play the Texans, they play the Jags, they play the Jets. New England could be kind of interesting, but I don't think that the Titans winning on Sunday buries the Colts. But I do think that it gives you a significant leg up that you could really, really use.
Oh, 100%. Go ahead and get that win against Indy under your belt. So when you have that tough stretch, you're not staring down at an Indy game at Indianapolis, because if you drop both games to Indianapolis, then you're in kind of a scary spot.
Then you're screwed.
I mean, I think that the Titans should take advantage of the Colts being in a tough position.
I think it's easy to say. If you win both games against Indianapolis, you win the division.
You win the division.
I mean, I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us next. Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys at Hiller, they take great care of me, and I promise that they can take great care of you. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. Hiller is offering you credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit and earn up to $1,500 in credits towards select new ones. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credits for your old one. And their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee. And I know all about this because I use Hiller at my home. Their technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
October 14th.
Toward the net, the back end of the score! Predators break out in front!
The Nashville Predators regular season begins when they host the Seattle Kraken.
And the Predators win it overtime!
And your only home for every moment of the action is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible. With innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Creating the finest award-winning tequila means starting with the best ingredients. Camarena Tequila is 250 years in the making from Arandas, Jalisco, Mexico. You see, at Camarena, they wait for their 100% blue Weber agave to reach maturity before harvesting each and every plant by hand. This allows them to consistently produce one of the smoothest and best-tasting tequilas in the world. Experience Camarena Tequila today, available at a fine liquor store near you. Camarena Tequila is the official tequila for the Nashville Soccer Club.
I come from a military family.
That's Stasha at Genesis Diamonds talking about the Hero Rewards program at Genesis, providing special discounts every day for heroes in uniform.
Whatever their budget is, we're going to make sure it stretches the best for them and that they will get the most beautiful ring at the best value.
Special hero pricing on any item extends to all military plus police, fire, and first responders.
They make us have the great life we have, and we are eternally grateful for that.
Genesis Hero Rewards program and free services is yours for life, no matter where you move.
Travel anywhere in the the world, we're one phone call away. So no matter where you're stationed, if you're military or if you're a police officer and you go to another state, we're going to take good care of you.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that Genesis owner Boaz Ramon is himself a veteran of the Israeli army.
Boaz, having served in the military, appreciates the military and what they do for us.
Genesis Diamonds, where our heroes in uniform get red carpet pricing and white glove treatment every day of the year.
We're there for them because they're there for us.
Genesis Diamonds, continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Signs First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
MTSU football returns to Floyd Stadium October 2nd for the annual Blackout game against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Kickoff at 6 p.m. The official Blackout ticket t-shirt package on sale now for just $15. Floyd Stadium provides guaranteed fun for fans of all ages with the Blue Raider Beer Garden featuring Steel Barrel Brewery, the Family Fun Zone offering inflatables, carnival games, and an ice cream station. Get tickets at GoBlueRaiders.com/tickets and enter promo code Blackout2021. Go Blue Raiders.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game, Titans and Colts, this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. And I am downright giddy. But as I said, Carson Wentz did practice today. We should note that. Carson Wentz practiced, questionable for Sunday. But as excited as I am for this game and the prospects of the Titans being 2-1 and what that means and everything else, I will say this. We all know that the old man that used to sit in the seat next to me would be just pushing back like nobody's business. So TD came on yesterday and said, with an injured Wentz, he sees the Colts having a hard time keeping up. But we all know that the old man would be scared to death of this game. And I have to bring that out there because he's not here to do it anymore. Corey Curtis, News 2, joins us on the program, presented by Invigorate Health. Invigorate Health TM therapies that can restore your vitality with you designed in mind. Corey, how do you feel about this game Sunday? Because I feel like the Titans should go stick it to the Colts. We got Corey? We lost him. It's like a A.J. Brown drop pass. Ball was right in the hands, and then all of a sudden it's just...
Couldn't even catch COVID.
Hello?
There we go. We got him. There you go. Corey Curtis, News 2. Corey,
Yeah.
how do you feel about Sunday's game? Should I be as giddy as I am about the situation the Colts find themselves in playing the Titans Sunday?
Look, you should never be giddy when the Colts come to town, all right? Because the history says you should not be giddy, all right? Mike Vrabel has never defeated the Colts in Nissan Stadium. He's 0 for the Colts at Nissan Stadium. And we've seen so many times where this team should beat the Colts and they don't. However, having said that, I don't care about those times. I care about this time. And I see the way the Colts are playing, and I see where their injuries are, and I see what we think this Titans team is and is going to be. And as I texted you the other day, the only way I see the Titans losing this game is by injury. I think as you stack it up, mano a mano, they should take care of business and win this football game. There's no question in my mind. Now, having said that, the Oilers celebration weekend, right? Mm-hmm. It's the darkest day in Oiler history.
Is the darkest day in Oiler history the Buffalo game that Frank Reich came in and won?
That's right, and he's on the other sideline.
Yeah, and I don't. By the way, you don't want to. Speaking of the old man, you do not want to get him started on that game. Oh my goodness.
I tried talking about that game once with Mike Munchak during a coach's show during a break, and you can't even discuss it.
Corey, I would say you brought up the 3 games Mike Vrabel has lost against Indianapolis at Nissan Stadium. And, fluky things happen. And Marcus spiked a ball on 3rd down. They got a punt blocked and a punt shanked last year. Yep. But the 2018 game, Marcus Mariota was hurt and couldn't play. And I remember that day, and I told the story earlier today on the show, where we were doing a special, and Floyd came in and said, hey, any throw that Marcus can make, Blaine can make. And we feel good about Blaine. And I felt like a coach walking into the locker room telling the team that more so than Floyd actually believing that Blaine Gabbert could win that game. I feel like this game, the shoe is on the other foot. The Titans would have never beaten that Andrew Luck Colts team that day without Mariota at quarterback. Wentz may play Sunday, but even if he does play, I can't see him being mobile enough to make a difference. Plus, I don't even think he's that good. I kind of feel like that this would be a disaster of epic proportions if the Titans can't get it done.
Like, when you look at every quarterback just out of the National Football League, good or bad, they all can make all the throws, or else they wouldn't be in the league. Can they make them when they're wearing a uniform, though, and there is someone covering their guy and there is someone coming after them? That's a different story, all right? And there's a reason, okay, that guys are practice squad quarterbacks, and there's a reason that guys are backup quarterbacks that are giving way to reps to practice squad quarterbacks because they're not that good, right? There's a reason Carson Wentz isn't in Philadelphia anymore. Injury plagued, not that good. Now, you could say the same thing that happened with Ryan Tannehill. He's not in Miami anymore. They didn't like him so much. Well, we're a few years removed from that, and Tannehill has certainly elevated his game. Carson Wentz, he's been gone from Philadelphia for less than a year, and he's already been hurt twice, okay? And they wouldn't have marched him out to practice today if they didn't feel that they had to have him to have a chance to win at this game. They were negligent in addressing the quarterback situation, the backup, all year, and the chickens are coming home to roost way earlier than they probably could have ever imagined, but it's here, and they've got a huge problem. Wentz gives them their only shot to win at this game, and I put that marginal at best.
Corey Curtis, News 2, our guest. Again, Corey Curtis, presented by Invigorate Health, InvigorateHealthTN.com. Look and feel your best with IV therapy, medical weight loss, testosterone, health and wellness, and body-shaping treatments. InvigorateHealthTN.com for more info. Do you think the Titans are more like the Week 1 Titans we saw against Arizona or the Week 2 Titans that we saw against Seattle? And even if they are the Week 2 Titans, still a lot of sloppy mistakes. How worried are you about that?
Well, no, I think they're way more like the Week 2 Titans. I mean, Week 1 was horrific. That was unbelievable. But you know, we all talked about the lack of practice and the lack of time together, and you know, I think it showed its head, and I think that they got knocked down a peg and they went back to work. It is early in the season, and we have seen mistakes. Largely by guys who maybe haven't played a lot or played a lot with this team, and I think that they're kind of reverting back now to guys who they know they can trust not to make mistakes in the secondary. And so I think, you know, if TN Nation, we got coming up Saturday night, our first key victory is no freebies, all right? This Colts team is not as explosive as Seattle. They don't have DK Metcalf. They don't have Tyler Lockett. You know, they don't have those guys. You've got to make this team work down the field. Now, I like Michael Pittman Jr., just like everybody else likes him, but he hasn't produced at the level of those guys yet. And if you have to make those guys drive 80, they're going to have a harder time doing it because, you know, when you give away 60s, you're doing them a favor. And so I think the Titans erasing that is the first thing that they've got to do. And so, look, say whatever you want about Mike Vrabel as a defensive coordinator. He's a really good head coach. He's really good at getting his team focused in the right direction. I think that they will erase largely those things. I feel good about it. I feel comfortable with it at this point. I don't expect to see somebody running free for Indianapolis in this game like we've seen in the first 2 weeks.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. I'll be honest with you. I think that this is going to be a harder game than people are making out to be. I think the Titans are going to win, and I think the Titans should win. And what I want the Titans to go and dominate. You know, just, hey, put Carson Wentz on his heels, put him on his rear end, you know, load the box, make those guys beat Fulton and Jenkins. And I think that Indy wants to make this an ugly game.
Yeah, and I think a rock fight. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Vrabel's okay with a rock fight. I mean, Vrabel wants to turn around and hand the ball to Derrick Henry. And I don't think Derek's going to bust him early like we all hope. You know, it's going to take a little bit of time for Derek to get going, like it always takes a little bit of time in a big game for Derek to get going. I think, you know, like the over-under, what was the over-under we were talking about? 50-something?
55.
Something. I mean, I think this is going to be a much lower scoring game. I mean, I'm thinking something like 19-14, something like that. I think this is going to be a rock fight, Corey.
I think the Titans are going to score more than 19 points, without question. I think the Colts are going to have a hard time getting to 20, personally. So we'll see how that all unfolds. Divisional games are always harder. And we've seen this for years, where the Titans have played a terrible Jacksonville team, and the game is much scarier than it should be. Or a good divisional team has played a bad Titans team, and they've made it much closer than it should be. Divisional teams know each other well. There are a few things I'm looking at, and that is the Colts quarterback situation. And I'm looking last week at what Matt Stafford did to that secondary, okay? 14 catches for like 240 yards between Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I mean, those guys torched Indianapolis in that secondary. And so if they do stack the box, which is exactly what I would do, and I think what everybody expects them to do, then A.J. and Julio have got to have a huge day.
Yep.
And I think those guys are going to have the opportunity. And, you know, the Titans could put some quick ones on the board if those guys can win those matchups like we think they can.
Corey Curtis, News 2, our guest, Fireball Hot Take Friday. What's your hot take this week, Corey?
You know, we always talk about, like, necessity being the mother of invention, and I think some of the Titans' early woes have helped them get back to who they are and fix their problems. I think Taylor Lewan getting hurt in pregame may have helped them long-term, because what did we see last week that we didn't see in week 1? We saw tight ends in on pass protection almost every time Ryan Tannehill dropped back there. Now, sometimes they released and they caught little outlet passes and took them for 10, 15 yards, but they were in there to help protect, and Tannehill had time. This is who the Titans were last year. They kept those guys in, specifically because Lewan was out, but it gave him time. Yes, we all love 4- and 5-man routes, but when you've got A.J. and you've got Julio and you've got Chester Rogers, maybe you don't need 4 and 5. What you need is your quarterback standing up there, able to see those guys and make plays down the field. I think it's helped the Titans discover, again, who they are and that they can win doing it that way. And I think that was important.
Corey Curtis, News 2, as always. Corey, appreciate you. We will see a TN Nation on Saturday night on News 2 and Sports Extra on Sunday. Tons of Titans and Colts coverage as well. Appreciate you, Corey.
All right, thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yep, Corey Curtis, News 2, joining us on the program. Corey Curtis brought to you by Invigorate Health in Mount Juliet. My guys, look and feel your best with IV therapy, medical weight loss, testosterone, health, wellness, and body shaping treatments. InvigorateHealthTN.com for more info. He brought up A.J. and Julio having big games. Can A.J. and Julio do it? We'll discuss next. Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans, Colts. Division rivals renew acquaintances in Week 3 at Nissan Stadium. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard, live from Rock Bottom Brewery and Restaurant on Broadway. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bring home unstoppable comfort with a new Train heating and cooling system. At Train, we test so it runs. Visit traininfo.com to find your local dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot. Great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Hooked in and headed in. Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
Are you a father that is passionate about your fundamental constitutional right to parent your own child or children? Has your parenting time or your income been affected by COVID? This is Amanda J. Gentry, and I am a fierce defender of your constitutional rights. The courts in Tennessee are under an obligation to maximize equal parenting time. We do not live in an every other weekend world anymore. At the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, fathers are extremely important, much like my own father was. Go to AmandaJGentry.com or call or text 615-604-6263. That's AmandaJGentry.com.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Hall of Famer Warren Sapp here to tell you about my favorite sports book, BetUS.com. I only endorse one sports book, and that's BetUS.com. Just like me, BetUS is the Hall of Famer of online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. Call today, and they will get you set up faster than I can run the 40. I play at BetUS, and so should you. BetUS.com.
Use code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Tell them Sapp sent you.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment made between now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Your
He's probably not practicing if he's not going to play. And while I don't love the injury doctor at Pro Football Pro Football Injury Doc who works with Outkick, because he talks about some invasive stuff when he just sees like a replay injury, and he's probably normally right, but still, you never know about something. Anywho, he says he thinks Wentz is going to play, but that he won't be as effective. And, to me, I just say just tee off. That's what I said earlier today. But there is another side of this. Everybody's talking about the Titans offense, and they're talking about the good stuff. In life, everybody likes to talk about the good stuff. They like to hear about the good. When you think about like an old relationship, right, you think about the good of the old relationship. You never almost ever think or ever talk about the bad of the old relationship unless it was really bad. So like when we talk about Jeff Fisher as coach of the Titans, for example, we talk about the good. But you were a St. Louis Rams fan living in St. Louis, and when you guys talk about Jeff Fisher, you guys don't talk about the good because there was no good. So what do you guys talk about?
Pretty much just the bad.
The bad.
The only good that there was with the St. Louis Rams, I don't even remember. So it's just bad.
Yeah, and that was bad for all of us. But do you know, when everybody talks about the Titans offense, and we've talked about it today, talking about how many rushing yards Derrick Henry's going to get and how much, everybody's talking about the good. Henry, Julio, TD yesterday, and I agree with TD talking about Michael Pruitt. The offensive line was good. Tannehill. What about AJ? What about A.J. Brown? And I ask it in this sense. I'm not worried that A.J. Brown, Mike Vrabel said after the game that, there's a long list of guys on the team he trusts, and A.J. Brown would be right there at the top. That it wouldn't even be close as deciding, who's good, who's bad, who's indifferent, who's this, who's that. That wouldn't bother. And I understand what he's saying. I completely and totally understand what he was saying. And we've seen A.J. have drops before. And A.J.'s come back and played pretty well. He dropped the ball against the Colts in week 2 of the 2019 season, and he tore it up against Atlanta 2 weeks later. And we know that the 2019 season was a good season for A.J. He had a massive drop last year against the Colts in the Thursday night game at home. And he ended up having just a pretty decent season as well, in 2020. So A.J. has the drops. A.J. said earlier in the week that he knows exactly what all those drops were about. The first one, the big one where he turned his head and he was trying to make the move on the safety before he came in with the ball. And that's all nice and good that he knows what the problem was. But how big of a factor is it, not just in the game, but overall as far as the Titans are concerned, that A.J. Brown gets back to being A.J. Brown? And then when Ryan Tannehill targets A.J. Brown, and Ryan Tannehill will target A.J. Brown, that when these things happen, how important is it that A.J. Brown catches the ball? And I'm a little torn here. I think that you do it for one game, dropping the ball. And it's like, okay, look, A.J. had a bad game, and A.J. joked about it after the game, and all of these things, yes. You do it 2 games in a row, the jokes on Twitter aren't going to be funny anymore. And then all of us are going to be really worried. Other than just and then A.J. dropped the ball, and that's it, without us being like, how could A.J. drop the ball? Without that, because we didn't do that, and nobody did that. It really hasn't been much of a discussion factor. They won the game on Sunday. Julio played great. Derek played great. So you're not too worried about it. I'm not worried about A.J. Brown. But is there a step before worried? Like if there's a scale of, I feel just great about this guy. He is the man. He is the greatest. He is the Derrick Henry. Like on the spectrum, would you say we're worried about Taylor Lewan?
Yes, I think that it's fair to be worried about Taylor Lewan.
Okay.
When it comes to AJ, I'm not worried yet. I'm not worried yet. I'm going to be keeping an eye on AJ Brown on Sunday. I'm going to expect a lot more out of A.J. Brown. But after one game with a bunch of drops, and it was a bad game for A.J. Brown, no doubt, but I'm not worried yet.
Okay, so then what would you call that spot?
I don't want to say I'm skeptical because I'm not, because I know what A.J. Brown can do, and I still consider him a huge threat to this offense. So I guess the right word for it is I don't even know, because I'm not quite worried, and I'm not singing his praises. I'm somewhere in the middle of I need more from him. I'm disappointed isn't necessarily the right word.
Concerned.
I think that's fair. I'm concerned about what we saw from A.J. Brown against the Seahawks, but not worried that it's going to be a perpetual issue. Now, if A.J. Brown gets several targets this week and continues to drop balls and can't make big plays, I think after 2 consecutive weeks of dropping balls and not making big plays and not being able to contribute to this offense, I think you can lean toward worried. Not totally and completely worried, but definitely tipping the scale to the worry side of things.
Would you tell Tannehill, and we know Tannehill says, and there's what Tannehill says and what Tannehill does, and I'm not saying that one thing is, good, bad, and different the other. I know there's some things Tannehill says and there's some things Tannehill does. Tannehill says he doesn't try to force feed the ball to anybody. Maybe he's telling the truth. I will say this. When he started as quarterback of the Titans, before AJ was AJ and before Julio was here, Tannehill got the ball to everybody. I remember I listened to an old Jared and the GM podcast the other day where they beat the Buccaneers, and I was talking about how Tannehill, I'm like, he just spreads the ball out to Ferkser and Humphreys and Tajay Sharp and Davis and Brown and Delaney Walker and just, oh, yeah. And I remember Floyd saying, you know, at the time he goes, well, he's just throwing the ball to who he practices with. And I was like, that makes sense to me. He said he's not going to force feed the ball. Do you force feed the ball to A.J. Brown early in the game, get him involved, get A.J., you know, get the drops behind him and say, okay, A.J., no drops there, no worries. Julio played like a boss last week. Derek, you're the Michael Jordan, and get on with it? Or do you just tell Tannehill to do what Tannehill does?
I think you have to just tell Tannehill to do what he does. But
then what if A.J. doesn't have a catch? What if A.J. doesn't have a catch in the first, 2 quarters of the game? Then are you worried about it?
If he doesn't have a catch or if he doesn't have a target?
Doesn't have a target. Like Tannehill's just moving the ball around, just bing, 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 bing. And
well, if that's where Tannehill's going to throw am I going to be worried about the game and am I going to be worried about the Titans? No, because Tannehill's giving the ball to the guy who needs to have the ball, the guy who's open, the guy who can make plays. And if that doesn't happen to be A.J. Brown, then that doesn't happen to be A.J. Brown. If he's completely covered up, then don't give the ball to him. It doesn't make any sense. If A.J. doesn't get any catches, if he gets targets and no catches, yes, in the first half, then I'm going to be worried because then I think there's a little bit of a mental aspect that starts to come in with A.J. Brown. Like, I dropped the ball last week. I keep dropping the ball this week. What's going on here? But I think if you force feed the ball to A.J., then you're just pushing too much. I think you're putting too much pressure on Tannehill to get the ball to A.J. You're putting too much pressure on A.J. to catch the ball. I say go about the game plan organically. Feed the ball to whoever's open. Feed the ball to whoever is going to get the ball furthest downfield. Because I don't think A.J. Brown is the kind of guy who needs to be fed the ball. I think he has enough intrinsic motivation to be able to get it done whenever it feels right.
Do you worry that he's going to read Paul Kaharski's Twitter this week, and I don't even know what Paul's tweeted, but that will play a factor in the game on Sunday?
Like,
I'm kidding. I am totally kidding.
Silly. It sounds silly, but do you think he does read Paul Kaharski's Twitter? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Yeah.
I mean, he cares about Paul Kaharski's Twitter. I'm not here to judge. Look, man, there's certain people's Twitters I care about, certain people's Twitters I don't care about. I mean, I think here's the thing I think about Indianapolis. I think they're going to play that soft zone defense where no one's going to get beat over the top. I think they're going to have, 6 or 7 in the box. They can't commit 8 or else AJ's going to win the game. Because I just thought about this. They've got those, substandard corners. I forget who it was TD was talking about yesterday, but he said that he talked to Mike Wells, the Colts reporter, and it was like whoever that corner is on, AJ and Julio are going to fight to be against that guy because he's so bad. And I think that they're going to have to sell out to stop Derek, and that AJ is going to be able to get his this week. And I'm with you. I'm not worried about AJ. In fact, I'm probably not even concerned about AJ. I am keeping this, filing it away in the back of my mind for Sunday about Indianapolis. The AJ had the drops, but I think AJ will be okay. The one thing I would say is, and we talked about the Derrick Henry rushing yards, the over, the under, things like that. One thing I would say is I do feel like Indianapolis is going to commit to not letting Derrick Henry run for 185 yards, at least in the first half. If Derrick wears them down and the Titans have them on their heels and then they can do whatever they want, then, yeah, Derrick's going to run the football. But I think Indianapolis is going to sell out to stop the run. They play that soft zone. They've got a suspect secondary. I think AJ should be able to get his this week. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll hit the headlines with Caroline. We will do that next. Again, the big headline that we're going to be keeping our eye on, Carson Wentz did practice today for the Colts. Is he going to play? My guess is if you practice on Friday, you're probably playing on Sunday. But we'll keep our focus on that. 615-737-1025. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listen in this Sunday as Nashville SC takes on Chicago. Pregame at 11:45 a.m. and match begins at noon. Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. We're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
from the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. This afternoon will warm to the mid and upper 70s under mostly sunny skies. Other than a cold front on Saturday night with no rain, we're staying quiet this weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible. With innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
It's football season.
Yeah, I just, okay. I feel like this is I don't want to call it a sucker bet, but I feel like it's one that they can really, get you on. By the way, the line has dropped now that Carson Wentz has practiced. The line has dropped to 4.5. So it was 5 yesterday, and it has dropped to 4.5 today now that Carson Wentz has practiced. Home points over under 26. Like, surely they're going to score 26 points, right?
You would hope. I mean, if they can score 33 on the road in Seattle, surely they should be able to score 26 at home against Indianapolis with kind of a bum secondary.
Different kind of game, though. They're going to want,
100%.
My guess is they're going to want the two running backs to run, and they're going to try to win the game, 17.
It'll be on the ground.
Now, I think that this is the bet where they try to get you. Like, Vegas always knows.
Oh, yeah.
26.5, I'd take the under as far as points scored on Sunday. Just because it's there. You're going to want to run the ball. They're definitely going to want to run the ball, and then the clock ticks, and they want it to be ugly. They want it to be grimy. They don't want this to be a shootout where Carson Wentz is dropping back 40 times and Bud Dupree and Harold Landry and Simmons and Autry, and they just get to tee off on them. They do not want that. So we take the under there. With that, it's time for Headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company, right here on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Headlines with Caroline is presented by Fiero Tequila. Fiero Tequila, the world's spiciest infused tequila. The world belongs to the brave.
Carolina got hit with the injury bug a little bit last night. Christian McCaffrey left the game with a hamstring strain, and then later on in the game, first-round pick corner J.C. Horn left the game with a broken foot. Coach Matt Rule said the team doesn't know the severity of McCaffrey's injury quite yet. He'll continue to get additional tests. We'll get more of a timeline on his return there. But McCaffrey was replaced by Chuba Hubbard. He was a fourth-round pick this past draft out of Oklahoma State. Hubbard finished with 52 yards, 11 carries, 3 catches for 27 yards. Pretty solid outing for the rookie running back. And also J.C. Horn, no word yet on when he may return, but a broken foot. I mean, I kind of feel like that's at least 3 games. I think you may expect to see J.C. Horn on IR soon enough, but I don't know. But tough injury night for Carolina, but good win for them.
Can I say I hate that? Like, I hate it. Like, and you know me, I don't care about Carolina, but I hate it for the game.
Yeah.
Like, McCaffrey. And I was thinking about this last night when he got hurt, right? Like, McCaffrey, for the last 3 years, 2 of the last 3 years before McCaffrey got hurt last year, everybody was telling us McCaffrey was the best running back in the NFL because he could do things Derek couldn't, right? Like, Derek, can plow you and can hit the home run, and Derek's... But McCaffrey is a wide receiver and a running back at the same time. And if the Panthers are going to be any good, and I do feel like Sam Darnold looks like he kind of has a clue as to what he's doing out there. It's amazing. You go from, know-nothing Adam Gase to Joe Brady, and all of a sudden you look like you know how to play football. And it's shocking because the guy here did the exact same thing when he went from know-nothing Adam Gase to Arthur Smith. So that's a whole different tangent. But, I want to see if Carolina's good. Vanderbilt maybe could have beaten the Texans last night, but it doesn't matter. I want to see if Carolina, they're 3-0. And Christian McCaffrey.
It was a close game in the first half. It was 7-6 going into the half.
It's so bad for the game. And not only that, a hamstring on a guy like that for what he does, that baby probably lasts you the whole year. That even when he comes back, it's still, and every time he touches the ball, it's, oh, no, do not pull up, do not. And so, he had the injury last year. He's got the injury this year. Is McCaffrey injury prone?
After 2 well, we don't know necessarily the severity of this injury quite yet. You say season ending. It could be a couple weeks. We don't know. But after back-to-back seasons with injuries, I don't know. I mean, it's not a good look necessarily, especially if this injury is season-ending. It's not a good look. So when do you start to call a guy injury-prone? When every season he's got to sit a couple games because he's got something tweaked or he's pulled something? I don't think we're far off.
I feel like this with McCaffrey that, when I say, I think this is going to be with him the whole season, I think he's probably out for about 3, 4, 5 weeks. I would make sure that when I feel like he's ready to go, I maybe give him another week if I can, because you don't want him to pull up on the hamstring again. But I hate it. I hate it for the game. I do. And J.C. Horn, he's a good-looking player. A good-looking bad boy corner. He's and now he's hurt. And he's probably out for the year. I would think maybe
a broken foot,
late December return. for J.C. Horn. So I hate those 2 injuries for the game. And I thought last night's game was kind of entertaining. I mean, the Panthers might actually be okay. Now, I don't think that they're great. And I think, Houston had I don't want to say a corpse playing quarterback, but they had, anybody
One of the biggest necks I've ever seen in my life.
Dude,
I do have to say.
Literally like a giraffe.
It's like his neck is wider than his skull. It's crazy.
And he doesn't throw very well. But I got an entertaining game. I feel bad for the Panthers. What's next?
So remember when DK said, hey, you got to keep a cool head. That's my priority this season. Keep a cool head. I don't think he's necessarily practicing what he's preaching because he thinks that it has been the other team's fault for baiting him into getting hot-headed. It's not his fault for getting angry. He said, the defenders I'm playing against are chirping me and they're baiting me because they know that I'll get angry. He said, so he was asked, are defenders trying to take you out of this game by getting in your head? He said, for sure. They can't stop me any other way. They can't stop Tyler Lockett any other way. So the best thing they can do is just try to talk stuff to me. He didn't say stuff. He used another word, but I'm just improvising here. But he, honestly, from the past few weeks that we've seen from DK Metcalf, obviously has not looked very cool-headed. So we saw him obviously very visibly angry on the sidelines against the Titans. Christian Fulton was all over him. He was very obviously not very happy about that. And so far, he's been flagged 4 times, once for taunting and 3 for other various penalties. But DK Metcalf, for somebody who dyed his hair to show how cool-headed he can be, is awfully hot-headed.
I feel like DK Metcalf saying that is kind of like that discussion we had the other day where I told you that I read an article that Shaq, for his diet every day, like wakes up, drinks a protein shake, works out for 2 hours, has a chicken Caesar salad for lunch, and baked chicken for dinner. Like, okay, Shaq.
Yeah, me too, Shaq. Me too. Yeah, we all do that.
Okay, DK. Yeah, I got blue hair because I want to stay cool under pressure. Okay,
Shaq
DK.
No more is
okay, now
30.
I'll say this. I thought DK should have been kicked out of the game on Sunday. Now, CBS didn't give you a good view of it nor a good replay of it, but he got called for holding, which the Titans declined. But on that play, he was taking Christian Fulton into the bench. And I'm sitting there, in my living room watching the game, and I'm like, don't punch back. Don't hit back. Don't hit back. Because you know how they always do it. They always get the second guy. So DK's dragging Fulton in there, and Fulton's holding his own as he goes into the entire Seahawk bench. And I would have hated it. And you got to give Fulton a lot of credit for a lot of things. You got to give Fulton credit for this. But, I was worried that Fulton was going to turn around and push back. And when he did, they're going to throw the flag. And all of a sudden, it's 15 on the Titans. And I was stunned they didn't throw 15 on DK Metcalf there. And I think you could see DK kind of was like maybe throwing a punch at Fulton. And I thought he could have gotten kicked out of the game. Again, not good angles, not good replay you could see. I cannot get out of my head James Lofton talking about DK Metcalf's mouth guard, calling it a pacifier on Sunday. It really was a pacifier. Like, it had the ring on the outside of it. Like, it was legitimately a pacifier. I can't get them.
Those are the pacifiers, and then the ones that look like teeth. And then there's the ones that, it kind of looks like a fan. Like, it has a propeller. And why are we doing that?
Why don't you just wear a mouth guard like everybody else?
We're grown men playing football. Just
right,
get
like
a
Smile
regular
Direct
mouth
Club.
guard.
It's not hard. Just get a mouth guard. What's next?
So the NFL released its new updated playoff format today.
Oh, hate it.
Why?
Okay, as a fan, I like it because I got to be honest with you, last week, I got footballed out on that mega wildcard weekend, watching 3 games on Saturday and then 3 games on Sunday. Now, part of that was because the Titans lost the first game on Sunday. And so, I had the Bears and Saints Nickelodeon game on, but, my heart just wasn't there.
That was a very fun game to watch on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, so as a fan, I like this because, you get 3 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday, you'll be footballed
1
down
game
by that
Monday night.
game, and then Monday night, you're ready to go back to football. As a talk show host, I guess I like it because if the Titans aren't in it, then we get to talk about, the Monday night game, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. If a team wins on Monday, they could have a really short week. I'm sure there's a rule that says if you win on Monday, you can't play on Saturday. But I'm worried that they may not put that in there and that the team that's the number 1 seed will want to play on Saturday. and they will get a team that plays on Monday and then has to play on Saturday. But even so, I don't like short weeks in the playoffs. I get it sometimes because you can play on a Saturday or get the extra day, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all because I do worry about the competitive advantage for a team that has to play on Monday as opposed to the normal Sunday to Sunday when we're in the playoffs. Regular season, I get it, but it just for the playoffs, it bothers me a little.
I have to think surely for safety's sake, they would strategically place games so you're not playing on a Monday and then turning around on short rest, on playing again on a Sunday against a team who may have played on Saturday and get extra long rest. I have to give the NFL the benefit of the doubt and hope that they do that. But to your point, they may not, and that is a very obvious competitive disadvantage.
Those are Headlines with Caroline. Headlines with Caroline presented by Fiero Tequila, the spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave. Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. Caroline has something very important coming up next, which I'm very, very, very excited about. Robbie Stanley going to step in. Titans week 1, week 2. What do we think? That's coming up next. Stillman and Company. Hey, do you want a pair of tickets to see Zach Brown at Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, October 17th? Head over to YouTube and subscribe to the 1025 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter for your chance to see Zach Brown. One winner will be chosen on Monday, September 27th. Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Want a world-class designer engagement ring but think you'll pay more for it? Not at Genesis Diamonds.
People ask all the time, am I spending more money just to get the designer name? And I can tell you unequivocally, no.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President Wendy Canavan.
What you're getting is better made jewelry, a better made engagement ring.
So at Genesis, you don't have to make or settle for a knockoff mass-produced ring. You can get a handcrafted masterpiece from designers like Tacori, Verragio, Henry Dossi, Kirk Cara, the names on every woman's wish list.
They're just better made. The people who design these rings are truly artists. They're not some backroom jeweler knocking off a ring.
And don't be fooled by people who say you will overpay.
We have beautiful engagement rings starting at $795, designer made.
Genesis Diamonds. It's easy to find the ring of her dreams without having to compromise.
You don't want people to say, oh, your ring's okay. You want people to say, wow.
Genesis Diamonds, voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring year after year. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Jared Stillman. Guys, are you tired of feeling old? You know that feeling. You don't have any energy. You're gaining pounds. Well, guess what? My friends at Invigorate Health are the ones to help you. They don't just focus on one area of the aging body. They take care of all of it with so many different therapies that can restore your vitality and are designed with you specifically in mind. So give them a try. Invigorate Health. If you want to feel young again, out in Mount Juliet at 615-288-4777 or invigoratehealthtn.com.
Hi, golfing friends. We're here to tell you about the 54-year anniversary membership special at Oak Hills Golf Course in Greenbrier. For only $89 a year with a $10 per year admin fee, you can get a 2-year anniversary membership at Oak Hills and enjoy unlimited golf from Monday through Sunday. Call Oak Hills Golf Course today to respond to this special offer before it's over. To get your $89 membership today, go to oakhillsgolfcoursetn.com or call 615-643-4505.
In college football, Goodyear knows a new season means new possibilities, where every Saturday is an opportunity on the road to greatness. No matter if you're out there playing your hardest or cheering the loudest from the sidelines, tailgating in the parking lot, or your favorite spot to watch the game, Goodyear knows passion is what drives us forward all the way to the playoffs. That's the road that moves us. Goodyear, more driven.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
1025 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. Caroline Fenton joined by Robbie Stanley for the next hour. So no Stillman, all company. Robbie, we appreciate you joining the show.
Caroline, I appreciate you having me. All company, but all good company here on the program
All good
today.
company. Very much so. So we have a little bit of breaking news from ESPN's Field Yates. A little bit of a head scratcher here. Wanted to get your thoughts on it. Field Yates just tweeted about 20 or so minutes ago. The Colts are working out Isaiah Wilson, the Titans' 2020 first-round pick, who did, I think it's safe to say, close to nothing for the Tennessee Titans. A little bit of a confusing move there in Indianapolis.
I've got to say, I had two reactions to this when I first saw it. Number one, it would be the most Titans thing ever for your first-round pick to totally flop here and then go to Indianapolis in your division, and he starts for the Colts for like 7 years. So looking forward to that story in the Isaiah Wilson saga. But in all seriousness, I guess he's put his rap career on hold now. Didn't work out the way that he thought it was going
Which
to.
is kind of a bummer for all of us who thoroughly enjoyed his Spotify playlists.
Oh, I mean, it's quite something. If you've not heard it, check it out. But my goodness, I mean, has he been working out? He didn't work out when he was actually an NFL football player. So I don't imagine he's been out there just, in the gym for the last few months.
That is one question that I have, other than it just being such a weird storyline. How ready is he actually to go out there and play an NFL game? Because I know that the Colts offensive line is pretty depleted. It's been hit by an injury bug so far this season. But this feels like an awkward fit for a guy who, I don't know what he's been up to in the offseason. I don't know if he's been training, but something tells me I lean toward no.
Yeah, and look, I guess from the Colts perspective, it doesn't really hurt to bring him in and have a workout. I mean, worst things worse, you just say, hey, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you. And then send him on his way. But, yeah, I know Titans fans. I've already had two friends of mine who are big Titans fans text me about, I cannot believe this is happening. Isaiah Wilson is going to start for the Colts at right tackle for the next 10 years, and he's going to haunt the Titans on a yearly basis. So we've already made that jump to Isaiah Wilson being a total bust to now he's going to be a Pro Bowler for the Colts. Looking forward to that.
And he's going to be a picture-perfect citizen, a great role model for all the younger players on the Indianapolis Colts.
Team captain, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's going to just be, model citizen. But realistically here, let's say the Colts do work him out. They like what they've seen. They can get a practice under him today. Let's say he does start for the Colts on Sunday, hypothetically speaking. From what you've seen, I guess, pre-2020 when the Titans drafted him, is this a legitimate threat on the Colts offensive line for the Titans?
I would say no. I mean, it's difficult for me to believe that he could go from a tryout to being on the field on Sunday and be anywhere close to being ready to play in an NFL game. Now, I will say this. I think people view Isaiah Wilson as this total bust, and rightfully so, just based on the way his career went down. The guy had some talent. I mean, there's a reason he went in the first round. He was really good at Georgia, and physically, he had some physical tools that he brought to the table that, Caroline, I remember when he was drafted, there were people that said, yeah, he could come in and he could start at right tackle by the end of the year for the Titans, but maybe somewhere down the road, and Joe Rexrode talked about this too, maybe he could be a left tackle for the Titans. Like, he was that athletic, and people thought that maybe that was a future route that he could take. So, look, I mean, to me, he's young enough. You don't just lose that athleticism. You don't just lose that ability. So I've always found it intriguing that if he ever got his head on straight and put everything together, the talent is there. Based on what we saw last year and even going to Miami after that, unless he has just gotten into a completely different headspace, it's difficult for me to believe that he's going to be NFL ready. I have my doubts on this one.
And it's tough to believe that he would make such a 180 in such a short period of time and be NFL starting ready, especially considering his past with the Tennessee Titans. But I also want to shift our focus to another spot that the Colts that have kind of a question mark going into this week, and that's at the quarterback position. Carson Wentz did practice today. I honestly did not expect Carson Wentz to go out there this weekend. I thought the Colts were going to play it safe, let him heal those ankles. They've got a tough stretch coming down the road. Get him 100% healthy, sit him against Tennessee, and hopefully get a win against Miami. But that may or may not be the case. Your thoughts about the quarterback position in Indianapolis if Carson Wentz goes out there? If not, just kind of your predictions, your thoughts at that quarterback position.
Yeah, they're in a really interesting spot. Like you said, Caroline. I mean, I think if you're Frank Reich and Chris Ballard, you can view this a couple of different ways. Obviously, you don't want to be 0-3. And you don't want to lose to the Titans and put yourself in a hole in the division, and everybody understands that. But it's also, I think, weighing the risk factor of, all right, if we throw Carson Wentz out there and he gets hurt further, or maybe he damages his ankles, or maybe because of his ankles that limits his mobility and he gets another injury in the pocket, what's the risk-reward factor of playing him in this game, trying to get this win, or letting him get healthier as the rest of the season comes around? I mean, their first 5 games are brutal. But after that, I mean, the schedule really softens up for the Colts. So, there's this stat being thrown around about how only 6 teams have ever made the playoffs after starting 0-3, and that's fine. There is also an extra game this year, and there's an extra playoff spot added a year ago as well. So, it's a different scenario than we've used to seeing in the NFL. So this is going to be a really interesting call. Like, to me, and I talked about it a little bit this morning, it's more than Carson Wentz. Can he run on the ankle? Can he make the throws in the pocket? If I'm Frank Reich, I'm worried about, can he protect himself? Like can Carson Wentz move around enough to protect himself if the Titans generate some pass rush? I don't know. It's difficult for me to believe, based on what we saw last week and the injuries that he sustained, that he's going to be all that mobile. And Caroline, this mobility has always been a big part of his game. If he doesn't have that, I'm not necessarily scared about that if I'm the Titans. Now, the flip side of that is, your other options, if you're Frank Reich, are Brett Hundley and Jacob Eason. I've seen Brett Hundley play. It's not very good. I've seen Jacob Eason throw a few balls in the NFL too. He's got that Joe Milton syndrome. You have no clue where it's going. He's got all the arm talent in the world, but you have no clue where it's going to be. So I think if you're a Titans fan, you feel pretty good about this quarterback situation heading into this game. If Carson Wentz plays, he's not going to be fully healthy Carson Wentz. You have to take advantage of that if you're the Titans. And the reason I think, and the way I think you do that, is by committing to slowing down their run game. Don't let their offensive line take over the game and make them beat you through the air. Because quite frankly, I'm not sure the Colts can do that with their quarterback situation as they head into this game.
And I said coming into this season, I kind of expected the Colts and the Titans to split this series, but I expected this game at home week 3, especially coming off of a big win at Seattle. I expected the Titans to win this game coming into the season, considering that Carson Wentz would be the starting quarterback. Now, whether Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback or not, like you said, it's going to be Carson Wentz that's not 100%. It's going to be a Carson Wentz that has a high ankle sprain on his plant leg. It's going to be a Carson Wentz that isn't going to be able to move around. He's not going to be able to run the ball. He's not going to be able to escape getting sacked like he normally would. So, like you said, it's an ideal situation for the Titans to be in, to especially take advantage of this divisional game, getting the Colts when they have some of these injury woes, when their roster is a little bit shallow. But so it's looking like it's turning in the Titans' favor. But if you're looking at it from an Indianapolis Colts fan, is 0-3 almost like a death sentence for this Colts team throughout the season?
I think it could be in the division. I mean, look, I know a lot of people nationally think the Colts and the Titans are on the same level, and there are a lot of people who pick the Colts to win this division. Yeah. I'm not really one of them. I mean, the quarterback position to me is really important, and I just don't think Carson Wentz is all that good. I know he's played okay the first couple of games, but I just think the Titans have a big advantage with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. Obviously, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, we know about those guys, and those 3 guys right there might be the best players on the entire field for both teams. But I just think there's a big advantage there. So divisionally speaking, I think this could be a big deal for the Titans if they're able to get this done. Now, as I said, if you're the Colts, you got to look around and say, all right, we've got Houston twice. You got Jacksonville twice. That should be 4 wins. This schedule that they have is going to soften up as they go down the stretch here. So I don't think that they're out of the playoff race if they start 0-3. I think they're really behind the 8 ball in the division, though. They know that. And that's what makes this decision, I think, so hard if you're Frank Reich on whether or not to start Carson Wentz, because, the divisional aspect of this is so important. And if you're the Titans, you can't win the division on Sunday if you win this game, but you can put yourself in a heck of a spot. And that's also why that comeback last week against Seattle is so important. Just think about how different the conversation would be if both teams are 0-2. It was a big-time comeback last week for the Titans to put themselves in this spot.
Oh, absolutely. I think the conversation, I think you hit the nail on the head, would be completely different. And I think that you also make a good point in that Frank Reich has to weigh the risks and rewards of playing Carson Wentz. Because let's say, going 0-3, I don't think that's a death sentence for the Colts, but it's definitely not looking great for the AFC South. They still have plenty of playoff hopes, but their place as a possible division leader definitely goes down. But you also have to weigh the risk of, okay, we do play Carson Wentz. Maybe we do go 1-2 going into this game against Miami, but what if he hurts himself even more? You've got a stretch against Miami. You've got a stretch against Baltimore, Houston, which doesn't scare you, and then you have San Francisco. They have Tampa Bay later on their schedule. So is playing Carson Wentz and possibly risking further damaging his ankles or any of his other injuries that have been going on, is it worth risking that? I guess we will see.
Well, if you're a Colts fan, you're talking about 6 weeks now where Carson Wentz has had to have foot surgery, and now he's hurt both of his ankles. I don't know if you feel all that great about Carson Wentz as you move forward either. So they're in an interesting spot with him too.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We're hanging out with Robbie Stanley for the rest of the hour. Get your Titans questions in. We'll talk a little bit of Vols toward the end of the hour. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, I'll present the 3 things that I think are working in the Titans' favor this weekend and 3 things that may not be working in the Titans' favor. And I want to get Robbie's thoughts on that. You are listening to Stillman & Company, and we are live on 102.5 The Game.
Love to tell everybody about Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There is no better way to ignite the night than with ice cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Football is back. It's a great time to celebrate. I'm going to be at a wedding, and at a wedding, we're going to be toasting with ice cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It's a real whiskey. It's not a liqueur. It tastes great and goes down so smooth. Again, that's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do responsibly. Be 21 years or older to enjoy Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Incredible win on the road for the Tennessee Titans.
Will the Titans send a statement to their arch rivals on Sunday?
Ball is loose and it's recovered in the end zone for a Colts touchdown.
Or will the Colts steal a victory in Nashville?
No, God, please, no.
Tune in all day Monday for full reaction to Titans Colts. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible. With innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
It's football season, and Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is here to serve you. If your AC or heater is old and inefficient, you can replace it with up to 60 months no monthly interest financing for qualified buyers. That's right, 60 months no monthly interest financing for qualified buyers. One of the many ways you can save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer 6 months no interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, offering premium service without the premium price. Visit springhillac.com or call them at 615-778-8855.
Cast iron. Lift that cast iron. You're doing good.
Hey, hon. Sweetie.
Yeah, hon.
I need to make dinner. I need that pan.
You can't always do home workouts how you'd want, but now you can sip what you want. Heineken 0.0. It tastes great, only has 69 calories, and absolutely zero alcohol.
Well, here, lift these. 2 Heineken 0.0s.
Oh, right. Dumbbells I can drink. Sip. Zero.
Must be 21 plus to purchase. Enjoy responsibly.
More machines, more savings, and more muscle. Only with John Deere construction equipment from Meade Tractor. Hit the heavy jobs harder with our Own It offer and get special financing on select models. New, used, or rent, we have the right equipment and technology solution for you with the affordable financing you need. Contact us today at our Nashville location or go online at meadtractor.com.
Offer valid on qualified purchases and new equipment between now through October 31st, 2021. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial for commercial use only. Down payment may be required. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
Hey, mortgage rates have taken a nosedive, back to the lowest in history. Don't miss your chance to lock in a lower house payment with Loan Pronto now. Hey, it's Willie Donna. Call Loan Pronto today and take advantage of their super popular zero-cost refi program. You can get a rate with an APR in the low 2s with no junk fees and no closing costs. Yes, they pay your closing costs. Who else does this? Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Virtually no paperwork required, and most loans get closed in 14 days. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Think about that little bonus. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Get your forever loan today. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero cost option.
Want to look like $1 million but only spend a handful of bucks? Upgrade to Dollar Shave Club with the Ultimate Shave Starter Set for only $5. Get a 6-blade razor, prep scrub, shave butter, and post-shave dew for a noticeably smooth shave. Plus free shipping. Razors can be expensive, so don't spend all that money for a mediocre shave. Dollar Shave Club. It's what dreams are shaved of. After the starter set, razors ship at a regular price. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/gojo. That's dollarshaveclub.com/gojo. Welcome to the club.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
You guys take hold at all of the fact that you can make them go 0-3, take a hole in the division as motivation, or is it just every opponent is sort of the same?
Well, I mean, I don't think that that's any motivation. I hope we go out there and we're ready to compete and finish and execute. But I mean, we've talked about, this is a division game. It's our first division game, and it's at home. So you'd obviously like to get off to, a great start inside the division.
That was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel getting a good start on the division, and that is exactly what the Titans will be faced with this weekend as the Indianapolis Colts come to town. Robbie Stanley, we learned that the Colts are working out Titans' former first-round pick, Isaiah Wilson. Just a very confusing move there.
It's very confusing, and I have to say, we got a text on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com from Matt asking if Isaiah Wilson is disclosing the Titans playbook to the Colts ahead of Sunday. If you think Isaiah Wilson was around that building long enough last year to learn the playbook, I don't know if he knew one play for the Titans. That would be near the bottom of the list of my concerns about Isaiah Wilson, is him exposing the Titans playbook to the Colts.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, did he even care enough to learn the playbook, much less remember it a year later and be able to disclose all of the nitty-gritty details to the Indianapolis Colts? I'm going to go toward probably not.
Perhaps he can get in on a victory formation if it gets to that.
Yeah,
he does have experience with that.
Real good diagram of how to get knocked on his butt in a victory formation. Be good stuff.
Maybe some good pointers on how to make a mixtape. Who knows? He's a man of many talents. But yeah, just a very confusing move there. Maybe a little bit of psychological warfare going on in Indianapolis, but confusing nonetheless. But Robbie, I came up with a list of 3 things that I think are working in the Titans' favor this weekend against the Indianapolis Colts, and then 3 things that actually may be working in the Colts' favor. And I want to get your thought on those. So first, we'll look at what's kind of in the Titans' favor. And the one that I think first and foremost is the most glaring is the Colts quarterback situation. Either Carson Wentz plays and he's playing on 2 bum ankles, or we see Jacob Eason in there, or we see Hundley in there. And either way, I don't think in any scenario it's necessarily intimidating if you're looking at it from the Titans standpoint.
I agree 1,000%. And now it's up to the Titans defense. Like, you got to take advantage of that. And I heard TD on yesterday with you guys on the Power Hour talking about, Shane Bowen. There's an opportunity here to roll coverages and disguise things at the line of scrimmage. And, he was specifically talking about whether that's Brett Hundley or Jacob Eason in a quarterback. But I think the same applies if it's Carson Wentz. I mean, this is also a big moment for this Titans defense, regardless of who the quarterback is, because, you had 3 plays last week where you just absolutely get shelled by that Seattle offense. And, I thought there were a lot of good moments from the Titans defense, and they made some big stops when it mattered the most. But the quarterback situation being what it is, this is an opportunity for these guys to prove that this is going to be a defense that's going to be better. This is a defense that's improved, because they're going to have to be. Like, if this Titans team has a chance to do what I think all of us believe they can do, and that is be an absolute bona fide threat in the AFC, their defense is going to have to pick it up. So I think this is a big opportunity for their defense with the quarterback situation that you laid out.
It's a great opportunity, and I think you make a good point in that no matter who starts at quarterback for the Colts, whether it's Carson Wentz, whether it's Brett Hundley, whether it's Jacob Eason, the defense still has to stop them. No matter how much of a threat you may think that they are or not, the defense still has to go in there and do their job. And I think that this is the perfect opportunity for the Titans to be faced against a quarterback opponent that may not necessarily be as intimidating as, say, Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray, or the challenges that they have faced already so far in the season. So taking advantage of this opportunity that they've been given, put up big numbers, let's gain some confidence, and then go into New York and play the Jets. The second thing that I think is working in the Titans' favor is Derrick Henry coming off of what could be considered one of the best, if not the best, performances of his career with the Titans so far. 3 touchdowns, also saw this kind of newfound pass-catching ability from Derrick Henry. So I think that, first and foremost, is definitely working in the Titans' favor, because after a lackluster week 1, which at no fault of Derrick Henry's, it's very much so encouraging for the Titans to be able to see Derrick Henry have such a big outing like that last weekend in Seattle.
I mean, isn't it crazy that it looks like he's getting better? I mean, that's to me just so nuts. I mean, he's been so good the last couple of years, and I think we know how important he is to this Titans team. But you mentioned it. I mean, he's a threat out of the backfield catching passes. It feels like Derrick Henry's getting better. And, I just hope, and I've said this a few times, I hope Titans fans enjoy what they're watching, because this guy is an absolute stud. He's an absolute tank out there for the Titans. And, you've got to feel good about, there are certain guys around the league that you just hold your breath when you watch them play, because something great could happen at any point. Every time Patrick Mahomes drops back and rolls to his right, I know that something great's probably about to happen. Every time Aaron Rodgers drops back and he throws the ball down the field to Devontae Adams, I know he's going to drop one in a bucket. I feel the same way about Derrick Henry. Every time he touches the ball, I know that he's 1 second away from breaking a deep run. So that's a weapon, and I know Indianapolis. Such a weapon to have. And Caroline, I think it's scary for NFL defenses that he seems to be getting better. And that's if he continues to be involved in the passing game like he was last week, defensive coordinators got to be just pulling their hair out, trying to go about defending this guy, because he's an absolute stud.
I asked Jared this question earlier. How much do you think the Titans are going to use Derrick Henry in the passing game?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of what we saw last week, first off, a couple of really good screen calls from Todd Downing. And we saw, they tried the screen game last year some, and it just didn't work. I mean, the teams had pre-scouted that, and the screen was very rarely successful for the Titans last year. And quite frankly, they just didn't use it all that much. A lot of them came from checkdowns, but I think one of the most encouraging things to me that I saw was it wasn't all checks down. I mean, he ran some choice routes. He got open. He 6 targets, 6 catches. Derrick Henry's had some issues in the past catching the ball, and he looked really good catching the ball. So I think it's something that Todd Downing should continue to use. Look, you want your ball in your best player's hands, and I know there's some concern. He had 41 touches last week, and I don't know that 41 touches is the formula for Derrick Henry as they move forward. I know he seems like a superhuman, because he kind of is, but at some point those touches are going to build up and they're going to accumulate. But I would absolutely continue to make that a part of the game plan, because it just gives the defense one more thing to worry about. And I think, quite frankly, opens up some room for A.J. Brown and for Julio Jones as well.
Yeah, I think my kind of takeaway from it was this just adds another incredibly dangerous layer to Derrick Henry, who was already an incredibly dangerous player to begin with. I don't think it's necessarily new and improved Derrick Henry. He is now a wide receiver who can also run the ball, but I do think that it is something that the Titans can and will take advantage of more in the future. But the third thing that I think is working in the Titans' favor is that even with Carson Wentz healthy, the Colts offense hasn't necessarily been extraordinary. They're averaging about 20 points a game, tied for 25th in the league. They have 8 run plays inside the 5-yard line so far this season, tied for the most in the NFL, but they have scored 0 points on those plays. So when it matters, when they're in the red zone, they can't necessarily get it done. And that is with I say healthy Carson Wentz, but healthy with an asterisk. That is with a pre-ankle sprains Carson Wentz. So I think that is also working in the Titans' favor, that their offense just has not been incredibly explosive.
Well, the crazy part is their offensive line has not been good, and that's one of the most expensive, most prestigious offensive lines in the league. And if you're the Titans, you hope that trend continues and you can take advantage of that. I mean, look, there have been some injuries. Quentin Nelson's been hurt. Eric Fisher's just coming back from an Achilles injury. So there are some built-in excuses if you're the Colts for why your offensive line has been as bad as it's played. Also, you played against a couple of pretty good fronts to begin the season. So that's the challenge for the Titans defense. Can Bud Dupree and Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons, can they generate some pressure that way? But this has not been the Colts offensive line that we're used to seeing, getting push up front and really asserting their will and dominating. If that trend continues in this game with the quarterback situation being what it is, I don't know how much of a chance you have if you're the Colts, because if you can't dominate the line of scrimmage in this game, I just think it's going to be so tough to move the ball.
3 things that I think that aren't necessarily working in the Titans' favor. First and foremost, one thing that was discouraging last week from the Titans was A.J. Brown's drops. I mean, we went into the season thinking, oh my gosh, how in the world can defenses stop this offense when you have Julio Jones, when you have A.J. Brown, when you have Derrick Henry? But we haven't seen those 3 offensive pieces working all together at the same time. Julio Jones, Derrick Henry had outstanding games last week. A.J. Brown, not so much. How concerned are you, if at all, about A.J. Brown moving forward?
I'm not overly concerned. I mean, this is not the first time we've talked about A.J. Brown dropping the ball. I mean, the Colts game last year at home, he had some issues dropping the ball, and 3 last week, and he talked about earlier this week trying to make some moves before catching the ball. I kind of have a feeling A.J. Brown is going to respond in a big way on Sunday. I would be surprised if he doesn't have a big game, just because I think we've seen enough body of work from him at this point to know that that's who he is. I mean, he's a big-time player, and when he's not good one game, you can pretty much bet he's going to be good the next game. So I wouldn't say I'm concerned about it at this point, but I will say, like I said, this is not the first time we've had this discussion. If we get through another game this year and A.J. Brown's dropped 2 balls or dropped 3 balls, then maybe you start to wonder a little bit what's going on with the concentration. But I'm not willing to say I'm worried about A.J. Brown yet at this point. I think he'll be okay.
That's what Jared and I were discussing earlier. I said, am I worried now? No. Cautiously optimistic? Yes. If we go into another consecutive week where we're dropping balls, 2-3 consecutive games, then yes, I think the worry can come in. But I think that A.J. Brown is the type of player that he may beat himself up about it more than anyone else will. And he'll be able to turn around kind of like a microcosm for this Titans team as a whole. They get blown out at home by the Arizona Cardinals, and they'll come back and they'll beat the Seattle Seahawks on the road. Another thing that I think is not working in the Titans' favor, and this is not any sort of new conversation, but I'm still worried about that Titans defense. Gave up some big numbers to Seattle. They've given up some big passing plays so far this season. And yes, they won in Seattle, very much so. But I think in order to move forward, in order to make those big-time wins like they had in Seattle a habit rather than, a standalone, this Titans defense has got to stop giving up such big plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And the communication's got to get better on that front. And hopefully, I mean, that's an early in the season type thing. And some of it, I think, is young players. I mean, Elijah Molden has struggled so far. Jackrabbit Jenkins was not very good in that first game. I thought he responded and had a better game. But I think a lot of this falls on Kevin Byard and trying to bring these young guys along. I thought Kevin Byard was really good in the Seattle game after – I know he got the pick against Arizona. I thought he struggled in that Arizona game. So, this is a defense that I think we knew is going to be a work in progress all year long. I have seen some signs that I think are encouraging. I like what I've seen from Danico Autry. I like what I've seen from Bud Dupree. And I think the encouraging thing about Bud Dupree is he's not 100%, and he's going to continue, hopefully, to get stronger as the season goes on here. So I think there's room for encouragement. I think there are signs of good things from this Titans defense. But to your point, you can't have those lapses in communication. You do that often enough in consecutive weeks, those will get you beat.
Final thing that I think is not working in the Titans' favor, I think, is kind of the mindset of these two teams going into this game. The Colts are going to be fighting to not start this season 0-3. That's what they're fighting for, knowing that they have a difficult stretch down the road. They're going to want to get at least one win on the docket. And I think that what we've learned from the Titans is that when they zig, they zag. They go into Seattle and they beat the Seahawks on the road, a game that they really should not have won. Now, all of the odds are stacked against Indianapolis. It feels like the Titans should win this game, and they have lost plenty of games that they should have won in the past. And I think that those two things, as silly as it may sound, are working against the Titans this week.
I think we're going to learn a lot about the makeup of this group and whether or not this is a mature football team, because I think you're exactly right. I think we've seen Titans teams in the past that have had games where they absolutely should have won, and they come out and they just lay an egg. And I know everybody points back to week 1, and that was just a disastrous performance all the way around, and your offensive line just got totally punked in that game. And look, honestly, I don't feel that great about the offensive line heading into this game with the injury situation being what it is, but I think the Titans, if they come out and take care of business in this game, I think that's going to tell me a lot about the makeup of this group, because make no mistake about it. If Carson Wentz doesn't play, this is absolutely a game they should win. There's zero excuse to lose this game. And if Carson Wentz does play, and he's extremely limited in what he can do, I feel the same way. So if they come out and take care of business on Sunday and are really in control of the game from start to finish, I think we're going to learn a lot about the makeup of this group.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you have a Titans thought. But coming up next, we'll shift to Vols. What exactly have we learned about the Orange and White so far as they take on Florida this weekend? But before we do that, you can talk even more college football tomorrow when you join Chase McCabe at Mellow Mushroom downtown at 423 Broadway for Chasers Tailgate. Stop by, hang out with Chase, watch some SEC games of the week. Texas A&M in Arkansas at 2:30, the CBS SEC game tomorrow. Enjoy beer specials, some great food. Join Chasers Tailgate tomorrow at 2:30 p.m.
Let me tell you about my friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Football's back for week 3, and they want you at FanDuel to get the most out of every play. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. For example, this week, I'm going to take the under on the Titans game. I'm going to take the under on Derrick Henry's rushing yards, and I am going to take the Colts on the money line. Or let me take that back. I am going to take the Titans on the money line. But Colts plus 5.5, I might have to think about it. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can also claim 30-1 odds on either team to win Monday night's Philadelphia or Dallas game. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. So if your first bet loses, you get up to $1,000 back in site credit with promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issue is non-withdrawable site credit. Expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same-game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile web. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Titans, Colts. Division rivals renew acquaintances in Week 3 at Nissan Stadium. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard, live from Rock Bottom Brewery and Restaurant on Broadway. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Ever heard of a cold-like virus called RSV? RSV can cause complications in older adults, including pneumonia. The Evergreen study is assessing if an investigational study vaccine can prevent RSV disease caused by a respiratory syncytial virus in older adults. If you're 60 years of age or older, you may be able to join the Evergreen study. Visit clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV to learn more. That's clinicalresearchassociates.com/RSV.
With all the new people moving here recently, we thought it'd be a good idea to explain Genesis Diamonds. If you've lived here a while, you know all this, so bear with us. Genesis Diamonds is not an ordinary jewelry store. It was started decades ago by a major diamond wholesaler based in Tel Aviv. He was the diamond supplier for hundreds of upscale jewelry stores. Then he decided to start selling direct to the public at prices that undercut traditional jewelers in a big way. This no middleman approach caught on fast and disrupted the traditional jewelry business model forever. Today, Genesis Diamonds continues that extraordinary value promise. With the highest quality diamonds, the lowest prices, the strongest guarantees, exceptional service, and a mind-blowing selection of fine diamonds and exclusive designer jewelry. So if you've just moved here from New York or California or wherever, we invite you to discover the secret the locals are well aware of. Genesis Diamonds. Just another great reason you made the move to this extraordinary place we're proud to call home.
In the concert event of a lifetime, Come experience the dynamic energy of one of the most accomplished musicians of our time, Carlos Santana. Blessings and Miracles Tour 2021. This Wednesday, First Bank Amphitheater. Take a trip through the hits from Woodstock to Supernatural and a backwards flip into the unknown. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. There's no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with Hiller. They're offering credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit and earn up to $1,500 in credits towards a select new system. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater and earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credits for your old one. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be or Services Free guarantee. Their technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud sponsors of the Nashville Predators, Vanderbilt, and the Tennessee Volunteers.
Here they come, turn 4.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Every Saturday morning at 9, we hit the big topics. The Ally 400, Kyle Busch, frustrated, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, and talk to the big names.
I'll go ahead and blame you.
Oh, I think it's big.
Could go a lot of different directions right now.
I was so impressed.
How cool that's going to be.
It's Chasing Checkers, Saturday morning at 9 on ESPN 102.5 The Game, and wherever you get your podcast.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Obviously, everybody in the building is excited. Opportunity to start conference play. Obviously, know the level of competition is going to rise this week. Looking forward to the challenge going down there on the road. First road game for us as a program here, and obviously the week of preparation is going to be really important. Paying attention to the details. And you get on the road, communication is going to be critical in all three phases of the game, something that offensively is going to be critical in particular. But looking forward to the challenge, guys. Came in the building today, had an opportunity to watch the video with them, get some work on the grass, and ready to get going here.
Tune into the NFL Game of the Week on ESPN 94.9, brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue. The NFL Game of the Week is the Philadelphia Eagles against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. Kickoff set for 7:15 p.m. But that was Vols head coach Josh Heupel talking about this challenge that they have going into the Swamp facing Florida. And this very much so is the biggest test that the Vols have seen so far this season. But Robbie, I want to ask you, what have we really learned about the Vols so far in their 3 games?
I think that's a really good question because I think 2 of the games, it's just so hard to take anything away. I mean, Bowling Green, you dominated so much physically in that game against an extremely inferior opponent. It's just hard to take much from that game. In Tennessee Tech, you win 56-0. I mean, I watched every snap of that game. I really wasn't all that impressed with Tennessee offensively. Running the ball, their running backs didn't have a lot of room. And if you can't generate a lot of running room against Tennessee Tech, what's that going to look like against Florida? What's that going to look like against an SEC offensive line? So I think we have learned a few things. Number one, I've been really impressed with Josh Heupel and the feel that he has for the game calling plays. I mean, some of the throws that they've missed and the touchdowns that they've missed, it's not from lack of play calling and lack of receivers getting open. It's the quarterback. And you're missing on some of these throws, and it's not just Joe Milton. Hendon Hooker missed on some on Saturday as well that you've just got to have if you're gonna compete in these games in the SEC, especially against teams like Florida. But Josh Heupel's dialing up the right plays. I think he's got a good feel of when to throw the ball deep, when to have some of those intermediate routes, when to run the ball. I've been really impressed by what he's done in that area. And, the defense, I think in the Pittsburgh game, even though they gave up 41 points, and you look at it and you say, man, that's a lot of points. It's not very good defensive performance. And there were certainly moments that weren't. They made some key stops in the red zone in that game as well. So the defense, I expect it to be a really weak point for this Tennessee team. The rush defense has been good so far. So I think there's some positive things that we've been able to take away from the 2-1 start. But I think we're going to learn so much more about where this team is, specifically on the lines of scrimmage on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball tomorrow, because they have not seen anything like they're about to see with that Florida line of scrimmage, and I'm really interested to see how they handle that.
And I'm with you because the rush defense has looked good. It's been solid. It now ranks as one of the top in college football. But I also go back to, but who have the Vols played so far this season? They haven't faced and probably won't face such a staunch run-heavy offense this season that they've seen in Florida. I mean, it's a run-heavy quarterback. They have two incredibly talented running backs on that offensive as well. So I hear you on the rush defense, but I'm just concerned. And okay, they've been able to pass the test that they've been given so far against the run, but now they're facing the ultimate test. And how will they be able to stack up against these Florida running backs and two very run-heavy quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, Florida just put up over 200 yards rushing against Alabama last week, and that's Alabama. So I think that scares the crap out of you if you're a Tennessee fan about what they could do at the offensive line there. And look, I don't think there's any secret about it. That's going to be the game plan for Dan Mullen and the Gators tomorrow. They're going to want to run the ball, both with their backs and with the quarterbacks that you just mentioned there as well. And if you're Tennessee, you've got to sell out and try to stop that and force Emory Jones to throw the ball, because if you can do that, I think you give yourself a chance maybe to create turnovers, because Emory Jones has been prone to that so far this season. But you're right. I mean, and Joe Rexler this morning called the rush defense for the Vols a paper tiger stat. I agree with him. We've not seen anything yet to this point in terms of the quality of competition. So this is a big test tomorrow for that defense. And quite frankly, just for Tennessee's depth as a whole, you need depth in the SEC to compete, to win. And I just don't know if they have that right now. And that could be really detrimental as you start to get into league play.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into some Vol talk on the other side. What are our expectations for the Vols this weekend? What are realistic expectations, some lofty expectations? We'll get Robbie's thoughts on that. But before we do that, I got to ask you, are you struggling to find and retain good employees? Because we can help. Cromwell Media invites you to attend one of our 2 free recruitment and retention seminars hosted by Chris Stonick on October 5th or 6th. For the past 33 years, Stonick has helped hundreds of companies find newer, more cost-efficient ways to recruit qualified employees. Learn new recruitment strategies, enjoy a continental breakfast, and be eligible to win door prizes. So go to thegamenashville.com/register for more info and to sign up.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus, and more of the same ahead, which means comfortable and calm conditions. Overnight tonight dropping
in rush offense. Defensively, I thought they were physical, tied in all three levels together throughout the course of the day. Defensive line was very disruptive. Special teams, they do a really good job as well. So they make you beat them. And, just watching the game from the other day, obviously have an opportunity, 2-point play at the end to tie it up. It's a really good football team. Our guys are excited about that challenge.
Play Silly Underdog Picks today. You can pick 3 football underdog teams you think will win this week for a chance to win a pair of tickets to a sporting event or a concert in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com to play now. Silly Dog Under Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Now, Robbie, we just heard Vols head coach Josh Heupel talking about just how threatening this Florida team is, top 5 in the country in rush defense. Now, as a Vols fan, what do you think are realistic expectations for this team going into the Swamp?
First off, can we just get one coach one day to be like, you know what? I think their special teams kind of suck. So we're not really worried about that part of it. Everybody always has the best offense, defense, special teams. I love coaches when they talk.
Everyone's always great on every side of the ball. They're the best. Yeah. It's going to be a big test for us. Like, it's okay to say that they suck, coach talk.
We need more of that around the league. But look,
we need to be more realistic around here.
We do. Look, I think expectations, I think it's fair to expect that this offense for Tennessee to look threatening. I mean, I still don't know that Tennessee has the horses to really hang in there for 4 quarters against Florida. You know, the spread's at 18.5 the last time I looked. I would feel pretty comfortable personally about Florida covering that spread. I just think at the offensive line and at the line, yeah, I really do. I mean, I just think that Florida is going to dominate the line of scrimmage. In this league, it's so much about the line of scrimmage, and I just don't know that Tennessee is prepared for that yet. But I think if you're a Tennessee fan and you don't come in there and put up some points, and, you know, we all watched Jeremy Pruitt football last year and just how inept that offense was. Not only did they really lose a lot and not be very fun to watch, but their offense was just abysmal. It was like watching college football in 1992. This is, I feel like, a much better step in terms of modernizing Tennessee into the modern version of offensive football. So if they go in there to the Swamp and they just get totally shut down offensively, to me, that's when I think there's a lot of disappointment from a Tennessee fan. I just don't know that Tennessee's got the depth to hang in there and make this a 4-quarter game. But you hope your quarterback can make some throws. As I said, I feel good that Josh Heupel's going to dial some things up and they'll be able to get some receivers open. Got to hit on those throws, whether that's Joe Milton or Hendon Hooker as your starting quarterback. And I just don't know that I have the confidence that they're going to be able to do that consistently enough based off what we've seen so far.
And I'm with you. I personally am thinking Vols plus 18.5, but I don't think in any way the Tennessee Vols can win this game. But when do you think is a fair timeline to give Josh Heupel before we can say, okay, Tennessee, it is a realistic possibility that Tennessee could beat Florida, could beat Georgia, could beat more of the powerhouses traditionally in the SEC?
Well, I think a lot of Tennessee fans probably are not going to like this, but I
Longer
just think
than they'd
based
like.
on what he took over, it's going to take a while. And I think Tennessee, deep down, they knew that heading into this situation, just based on where the program was. I mean, this team got absolutely eviscerated by the transfer portal after Jeremy Pruitt was fired. So they've got a lot of work to do. They got 71 guys on scholarship. So they've got a lot of work to do to get back to the depth that's necessary to compete in this league. So, look, I think it's going to take 2 or 3 recruiting classes before you can really even judge what Josh Heupel is, just based on where this program has been. Now, having said that, I also know how college football works. And I know how Tennessee specifically works. And if we get a couple more years down the road and they're still getting beat by 40 against Florida, this is not going to fly very long. So it's one thing to see how it should go. It's also, I think we've seen how it does go. And I do worry that, you know, if Josh Heupel doesn't get this going in the next couple of years in terms of building that recruiting class up and being competitive against Florida, being competitive against Georgia, trying to be competitive against Alabama, then I think Tennessee fans will start to turn on him pretty quick.
I said this yesterday. I think that Josh Heupel has 3 years. And that's not 3 years to be top 25. That's not 3 years to win the SEC East and go to Atlanta every year. That's 3 years to at least be considered to beat Florida and Georgia, to at least shrink that spread to a 3-point game, a 4.5-point game, to at least not say, hey, maybe they could cover 18.5 points. I said 3 years before the Vols see some sort of a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair because, I mean, look, if he's the right guy, you're going to be able to recruit well. I mean, that's the biggest question I had when Josh Heupel was hired. You take over a job in UCF, and there was really at that point nowhere to go but down. They were 12-0, and Scott Frost had left and gone to Nebraska. So the win-loss record for Josh Heupel at UCF was going the wrong way. But I think the more concerning part to me was recruiting was going the wrong way too. And you're in Orlando. You're right there in the middle of a hot recruiting base, and it wasn't going well for you. It's not gone overly well for Josh Heupel in the recruiting circle so far. Now, some of that is based on where Tennessee is in terms of their roster and what's been going on there the last 5 to 10 years. So if he's not gotten that part of it turned around in 3 years, then I don't know how you could have any confidence that all of a sudden 5 years from now he's just going to magically turn around. We see the good coaches in college football, they figure it out relatively quickly most of the time. So I think 3 years is fair from that standpoint. You better be competitive in 3 years, or I think it's fair to question at that point whether or not you're the guy.
Last thing for you, Robbie. It doesn't feel like the Vols are going to win this game, but you have to take at least something out of this game. And I said this could be a good benchmark to see exactly how far removed the Vols are from those national conversation teams. What are you going to be looking for this weekend from the Vols?
A couple things. I think, number one, how do you hold up in the trenches? That's going to be, I think, the key dictating part of this game. But number two, quarterback. You've got to find a solution at quarterback moving forward. I think they want it to be Joe Milton. I think Joe Milton's upside is huge. And I think if he played closer to the upside, the quarterback competition is really not all that close between him, Hendon Hooker, and Harrison Bailey. The problem is, you can't just keep trotting him out there if he misses wide open receivers left and right. So whether it's Milton in the game or Hendon Hooker in the game, you need to connect on some of these throws offensively and make Florida respect you down the field. Because I think if I'm Florida, I'm going to dare you to throw the ball down the field if you're Tennessee, because I don't think you can do it. So you need to connect on some of those plays. How do you hold up in the trenches? And these wide receivers, I think wide receiver is the best position group for Tennessee. They've played well so far this season. Is that a quality of competition thing? Can they handle these SEC corners and defensive backs that they're about to go up against? If they can, then I think you're really encouraged if you're a Tennessee fan as you move forward here. If they get totally shut down in the passing game and can't get open, to me, that's a pretty big point of concern as to what the rest of the season could look like.
If the Tennessee quarterback could at least just get the ball in a receiver's hands, at least within 10 yards. That's
the same zip code would be great. That'd be awesome.
Be great because, at this point, Joe Milton's throwing it to Nashville. Robbie, we appreciate you joining us, and we will be looking forward to the Power T podcast this weekend as well.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, appreciate you. Coming up next, Outkick 360's Chad Withrow will join us. We'll talk a little bit of Vols. We'll talk a little bit of Titans. But before we do that, I have a message for the sports bettors out there. I want to tell you about my favorite sportsbook, BetUS. Football is back finally, so it is time to get in on all of the action. BetUS has been America's favorite sportsbook for over 25 years, and that is exactly why I endorse them. They have integrity, they have longevity, and when you win at BetUS, you know that you are going to get paid, and that's exactly what you need from a sportsbook. Plus, they offer everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and of course, baseball. Things are heating up as we go into the postseason in baseball. College football, NFL, anything you want, any kind of crazy bet that you want to put money on, BetUS has got it. So call BetUS today. They'll walk you through setting up an account. Their number is 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US. All you got to do is call that number, set up an account. It is super easy. I've done it. Plus, nobody in the industry gives bigger bonuses than BetUS. If you join now, mention GAME, you can get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Nobody in the industry gives up to 200% in bonuses, but BetUS does. I bet at BetUS, and so should you. So go now to BetUS.com. Join today. Put in promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, for a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. That is BetUS.com.
the voice of reason.
That whole operation and choices and the plan and everything looked like garbage.
The voice of the fan.
There's a lot of loyal fans paying a lot of good money, and we just feel like we deserve the decency to give us a little bit more of an answer there.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
It's soccer season in Tennessee. You want goals?
He takes it inside, outside, right foot. Great finish! What a goal!
You want saves?
Lifted high, into the hands of Joe Willis. He makes the catch.
You want big drama?
Hooked in, it headed in! Delirium! It's Yonder Cadiz!
Nashville SC are back at home Wednesday, September 29th versus Orlando City SC. The action kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
How'd you like that?
Your style changes constantly, not just with the season, but with what's going on in your life, too. So why are you wearing the same pieces of clothing day in and day out? Introducing Stitch Fix Freestyle, a personalized shopping experience that allows you to discover and instantly buy clothing and accessories based specifically on your style preferences and fit. Stop settling for what you have and start getting new looks for any occasion, ones that actually fit you. And with Stitch Fix, shipping and returns are always free, so you've got nothing to lose. Head to StitchFix.com today to get started.
MTSU football returns to Floyd Stadium October 2nd for the annual Blackout game against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Kickoff at 6 p.m. The official Blackout ticket t-shirt package on sale now for just $15. Floyd Stadium provides guaranteed fun for fans of all ages with the Blue Raider Beer Garden featuring Steel Barrel Brewery, the Family Fun Zone offering inflatables, carnival games, and an ice cream station. Get tickets at goblueraiders.com/tickets and enter promo code Blackout2021. Go Blue Raiders.
From curriculum-based literacy programs and sport leagues to college tours and workforce readiness tracks, Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provide a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. You can support local youth and their great futures by donating at bgcmt.org.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman. On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. You can watch Stillman and Company every Monday through Friday from 2 to 6. We're also streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, joins us now. Chad, we've got a big Vols game in the Swamp this weekend, and I think the biggest question surrounding this game, one of the biggest questions, at least in Knoxville, however, who's going to start at quarterback for the Vols? If you were Josh Heupel, who are you putting in?
Caroline, first off, it's great to hear your voice after Jared did not allow you to ask me a question last week. I was very sad by that, so it's good to hear from you.
Contrary to popular belief, I do have a voice.
You do, and it's a great voice, and
Well,
it's a
so
smart voice, and that's why I like hearing questions from you. And I'm sure you've done a great job today as well. But I will say the sad part about the Tennessee-Florida game tomorrow is that I will have to disagree with you that it's not even a big game. And that's sort of where both programs are right now. It's both a compliment to Florida and Dan Mullen, who probably should have beat Alabama a week ago, which surprised me. And it's just the reality of where Tennessee is right now under Josh Heupel. This was, when I was growing up, the game in the SEC in the 90s. I mean, not just in the East. It was the game when the East was dominant over the West. This was the game to decide the SEC title. Hasn't been that way in a while. And really, you're right that, all the intrigue around Tennessee is at quarterback, because it's not like you've got a fifth-year senior that's done after this year that may be an option. The decision between Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker will have lasting ramifications for the program. Not just this year, which is not going to be a very pretty year, but moving forward. Tennessee should be better a year from now, should get better the year after that. These guys are eligible for 3 years. When you look at their eligibility after transfer, I think Hooker may be 2 years. I know Milton has 3 years of eligibility left. So it's a big decision for Heupel. And I think you look at both players. Hooker gives Tennessee a better chance in the Swamp because he's a better runner than Milton. I think Milton gives Tennessee a better chance in the Swamp because he's better at going fast with tempo in that offense than Hooker. So I don't think either guy can win this game for Tennessee. But the right call at quarterback mixed with the right amount of good play for them could give Tennessee a chance and keep them hanging around in the second half. But I don't know that I see it happening with this game. And it looks like, and I'm guessing, it's probably going to be Hendon Hooker tomorrow night.
And I've kind of said the same thing, is that it doesn't feel like this is going to be a dub that the Vols are going to be able to pull out this weekend. They're just outmatched on every side of the ball. So, I guess you can kind of look at it in a way of, can there be any possible moral victories that the Vols can pull out this weekend? Don't necessarily believe in a moral victory, but what do you think the Vols can do this weekend that can give you at least a shred of optimism for this team moving forward?
I think moral victories probably, let's put it this way. The term moral victory probably goes out the window in high school. But what you're saying is, can Tennessee take positives away and feel good about themselves in a loss to Florida? And I think the answer to that is absolutely, based on how they look and how they play in this game. And here's one big factor that I'm going to be watching. Tennessee's been great against the run this year. They've got a veteran defensive line. They had a lot of guys opt in for that super senior year. They rotate a lot of dudes. They're averaging, I think, giving up 1.8 yards a carry so far this year. Now, granted, that's come against one legitimate team in Pittsburgh that does not have a great running back. They're going to be tested, obviously. This is a Florida team that averaged 7 yards a carry against Alabama last week. If Tennessee can hold Florida down better than Bama did in the run game, especially now that the better runner of the two, and Anthony Richardson, between him and Emory Jones at Florida, is going to play in this game, I think that's going to bode well.
How crazy does that sound to say, well, if Tennessee can stop the run better than Alabama can? Because I hear you. Tennessee's had a great run defense so far this season, but what kind of rush have they faced?
Exactly, and that's why I don't think that they can. But, maybe it was just a really bad game for Alabama, too. Maybe they were expecting something different, which I don't know why you would, based on Emory Jones and his lack of great passing statistics coming into that game. But either way, Florida, I was very impressed with their offensive line and the way they moved Alabama up front and the way they opened up running lanes. That does not bode well for Tennessee. But if I'm looking in the quote-unquote moral victory, positivity after a loss department, it would be if Tennessee's defense and run defense shows up again against Florida and keeps this thing closer than people think and closer than Vegas thinks. I don't know how Tennessee fans wouldn't be thrilled with that outcome. If Hendon Hooker or Joe Milton plays a really good game in a tough environment in Gainesville, again, I don't know how you don't feel really good about things moving forward, especially a week from now where the games start to get really pressure-packed because they're winnable. If they go to Missouri, that's a winnable game. They're going to get South Carolina, winnable game. Kentucky, those games are the ones that Tennessee needs to be focused in on those games, because I don't think they have a chance against Florida to win, but they're going to have chances moving forward. So they need to figure out what they're made of.
Jabari Small out against Tennessee Tech, and we've seen from Tennessee if they can't get it done in the air, if Joe Milton cannot find a wide receiver to save his life, they can get it done on the ground. So if the Vols do get Jabari Small back for the game this weekend, how much of kind of an oomph will that add for the run game in the Swamp?
And have they been saving D. Beckwith, this 6'5", 250-pound running back for Florida? Because
this Derrick Henry Jr., it looks like?
Yeah, it looks like it, but I guess isn't, because he can't get a carry for whatever reason. Tennessee's got, I think, two good running backs in Small and Evans. They do not have depth And I think the last couple of weeks without Small and 2 weeks ago without Small and Evans shows that. Jalen Wright may end up being a good player. He's a true freshman. He's light. He's not getting it done, running it. They need to develop someone else in that rotation. But if Small and Evans are both healthy, they're pretty good at running back. They're not special, but they're pretty good. They need Jabari Small to play and play well in this game. I know he's battling a shoulder injury, but I just don't see if Tennessee's going to get anything done with their running backs. And I'm not talking about in the running game, because the biggest part of their running game is going to be with Hooker or Milton. Mm-hmm. But if they're going to get anything done with their running backs, they need a healthy rotation of Small and Evans to do that, because from what I've seen, they're not going to get it done this year with Jalen Wright and the guys behind those two.
Mm-hmm. Another guy coming back from injury, we can probably expect to see Cooper Mays back at center, out with an ankle injury since week 1. What does having him back in the rotation on offensive line mean for the Vols?
I think that's bigger than Jabari Small, honestly. Mm-hmm. And for this reason, when Cooper Mays goes down, they get worse at two positions. Jerome Carvin is much better at guard. Mm-hmm. They moved Jerome Carvin to center. He had some holds against Pitt. He's had a false start, a false snap. It really hurts Tennessee at two spots, because then at guard, they had Ollie Lane, I think, come in, who's not an especially talented player. When Cooper Mays is in the lineup, and if Cade Mays, I know he's a little bit banged up, if he can be healthy, and then you can move Carvin back out to guard, I think Tennessee's offensive line is pretty good. I don't think they're great, but I think they're pretty good with that rotation. But they really need a healthy Cooper Mays. If he's back and healthy, I'm a little bit skeptical, because it's a high ankle sprain he's battling back from. But if he's back and healthy, I think that's a huge boost for Tennessee offensively, maybe even more so than the return of Jabari Small.
Last Vol-related question for you, Chad. I need to get your thoughts on this. Tennessee canceling the game with Army in 2022, dishing out $500,000 to Army, rescheduling with Akron. Now, is that a smart move or is that a weak move? Because in my opinion, I just think that is so weak on Tennessee's part.
Caroline, it's both. It is very, very weak. And there's no way around not looking weak by doing that. It's also very, very smart for this reason. And I am on record. I would never, if I'm a Power 5 school, schedule a service academy. I'm not playing Air Force. I'm not playing Navy. I'm not playing Army. And that's not because I don't love what all of them do for our country. I've got a cousin right now. A shout out to David Withrow, who is a second-year student at West Point. Love what they do for our country. Love those service academy kids. Would never schedule them in a game, because when you go up against the triple option, you are doomed to fail at some point. And when you're playing Army the week before you play Florida, in a year where maybe Tennessee could be a little bit closer to Florida, I do not want a bunch of 260-pound linemen cutting the knees out from my defensive players on cut blocks in a triple option attack. Dave Hart never should have scheduled that game. Mm-hmm. His predecessors, John Curry, Philip Fulmer, and Mike White all knew that he should not have scheduled that game. No coach. After the coach then wanted to play Army. For that reason, I think they did the right thing for their program in getting out of it. And look, I mean, it's going to cost them $100,000. I know they were going to pay Army $1.4. They paid them $500,000 to go away, and they're paying Akron $1 million. So it's a net loss of $100,000. Not a huge deal.
Which is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's also, for Army, I guess it's kind of a good deal. They get paid $500K to do nothing. Now they get to go schedule another game. And if someone will play them that needs a game, they could travel somewhere else that week and make more money. So
Bishop Sycamore, perhaps.
At Bishop Sycamore, they're looking to schedule.
They're looking for opponents.
They need a home. First off, they need a home field, and then they need home games. They can't play at that library that the Google address takes you to. So they need a home field, and then once they can get games, maybe they'll play Army. But again, it is both smart and weak of Tennessee to do this.
I just head in my hand type of moment. Like, this is such a Vols move, but I do understand your point, and that going into that game, it did kind of feel like you are doomed to fail. And whenever you are trying to build your program up, that could be the smart move. But I mean, I just thought, come on, Vols, what are we doing?
But again, there's also a reason, and I'll go to your team, LSU. There's a reason LSU doesn't play Navy or Army. because it's smart, because you don't want to play Navy. I'm telling you.
Don't put yourself in that position.
I remember watching Tennessee against Air Force in 2006, and Tennessee won in double overtime. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching that game, and I am tortured because it's just a lose-lose. You're playing the nation's finest people, human beings, mm-hmm. and you're rooting against them, and they are so disciplined and so fundamentally sound. There's no way athletically they should have played with that 06 Tennessee team, and they can do nothing to stop the triple option. It is torture to watch. I vowed that day I never want a team that I root for to schedule one of the service academies.
Well, I'm hoping that Akron may be a much easier opponent for the Vols. But coming up next, we'll switch to a different team in Tennessee. Kind of want to get Chad's thoughts on the Titans hosting the Colts this weekend. We'll take a look at the NFL as a whole. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have a Tennessee thought for Chad, we'll switch gears to Titans coming up next. But before we do that, I will remind you that you can join Jared and I this Monday from 2 to 6 live from the Boat Hotel located at 401 2nd Avenue South. Boat is only a 15-minute walk from Nissan Stadium, a great place to meet your friends and tailgate before the game in the courtyard. They offer fire pits, picnic tables, lounge chairs, vintage truck seating, cornhole, and so much more. So stop by, grab some game swag, sign up for your chance to win a pair of tickets to WWE Raw at Bridgestone Arena on Monday, October 4th.
Hey, it's a Fireball Hot Take Friday, which means you got to go down with ice-cold Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Nothing goes down so smooth and tastes so great. I'll be at a wedding later tonight, and you know the Fireball will be a-flowing. Congrats to Logan and Emily, by the way. Fireball cinnamon whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There's no better way to celebrate with your friends responsibly than with ice-cold Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Please do it responsibly. Be 21 years or older to enjoy Fireball cinnamon whiskey.
And the save made by Saros, and the Predators win it.
Nashville Predators training camp is underway.
The Nashville Predators back in action.
We're closing in on the new season.
They kind of surprised everybody last year, so the natural reaction is they're just going to get better this year.
And your only home for coverage of the Preds is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
Need a new roof? Get a roof built with integrity from E2 Roofing. E2 is a veteran-owned and operated local roofer with 95 5-star Google reviews and Better Business Bureau A+ rating. E2 Roofing is a veteran-owned and operated local roofer with 90 5-star Google reviews and Better Business Bureau A+ rating. E2 assists customers with roof repair and replacements through insurance claim assistance. Find out if insurance will pay for your new roof with a free inspection at e2roofingnashville.com.
Cheers to you, girl. I know you're excited about the new job.
Oh, thanks so much.
Hey, is that my engagement ring you're wearing?
Don't be silly. Oh, wow. They are identical. How did that happen?
Don't tell me. He went to jail.
Yeah, yours too, I guess.
Wow.
Don't make her settle for one of those cookie cutter rings from the big corporate chain jewelry stores. At Genesis Diamonds, you can get her a stunning one-of-a-kind designer ring, one that's as unique as she is. Genesis has over 4,000 handcrafted rings from world-class designers like Tacori, Verragio, Henry Dossi, and others. These are designers that you'll never see in one of those mega corporate stores, but we have them starting at under $1,000. So ladies, don't settle for the ordinary, for a ring that will be yours and yours alone. Make sure he goes to
Genesis Diamonds.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I had it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep.
Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com now to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Stillman and Company, Caroline Fenton, joined by Outkick 360's Chad Withrow. You're talking Vols going into the Swamp this weekend. But the Titans also have a divisional game this weekend, hosting the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Chad, we saw week 1. The Titans get just embarrassed by the Arizona Cardinals coming into Nissan Stadium week 1. Then the Titans on the road at Seattle, getting a win against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. What is this team? Are they week 1 getting blown out by Kyler Murray? Are they week 2 being able to get a win on the road and Derrick Henry pummeling everyone and getting in the end zone 3 times? What is this Tennessee Titans team?
This team is Derrick Henry to me. I mean, I'm talking more from a football standpoint, but I think his mentality also, he wants the ball. He wants the team to jump on his back, and he wants to carry them. That's been the identity offensively with this team under Arthur Smith, and now it needs to be the identity moving forward. I mean, I was shocked after the busted coverage and they fall behind 30-16 in the fourth quarter that they came back and won that game. But that's got to be the Titans from here on out. That's what they did in that second half. Has got to be their mentality, but more importantly, it's got to be how they play. So I do think that they're closer to the team we saw in the second half. Probably not quite as good as the team that was down 14 and came back and won in Seattle. But whatever happened against Arizona, I mean, that cannot happen again. I think we all agree with that. But I really think that it all comes down to Derrick Henry. I mean, this is a team that's unlike almost every team in the league, and that they are going to turn around and hand the ball off to a running back like it's 1989. And that is how they are successful. And I think that can be a great thing because you can be different when you have someone as different as Derrick Henry. And you look at all the stats with him and the amount of carries and the amount of yards versus contemporaries. And then he's just a guy that's out of time. He's out of his own time. And he's almost both a throwback and a look ahead at the league with the way he plays. So, look, I think this is Derrick Henry's team. And you make sure that he gets fed. And when he's fed, I think the Titans are going to do some good things, hopefully starting this Sunday against Indianapolis.
Do you think Derrick Henry can repeat 2,000 yards this season?
Yes, I think he can. And I think that the Titans are going to need to give him the amount. First off, if he's getting carries, usually it means the Titans are successful in their games. But the Titans need to give him the carries that would necessitate the possibility of 2,000 yards. But yes, I think that he can get 2,000 yards again. I believe in this guy so much because every type of metric, every precedent we look at running back and look at number of carries and age and everything else and say running back's going to fall off the cliff at this point in their career. You throw it out the window with Derrick Henry because he had a ton of carries in high school. He had a ton of carries in college. He gets the NFL. He basically sits for 2 years behind DeMarco Murray, and it was like that was his resting up period, and now he's dominant. I mean, I just don't think that you can apply the standard of past running backs in him because he is so different.
And that's exactly what he was asked at a press conference. Did anyone else in high school touch the ball? And his response was, what do you think? Which I think was just so perfect. So Derrick Henry-esque, such a perfect response to that question. But I think you do make a very good point that we've seen in these past 2 games. If you hold Derrick Henry to single-digit yards, you cannot get it going offensively, and then you turn around and see Seattle, he gets 100 and whatever it was yards and 3 touchdowns, and this offense just comes alive. A team that I thought was dead at the half, and Derrick Henry was able to ignite this team and get it going again in the second half. But I think that my biggest worry here on offense is that we haven't seen Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry, 3 of the Titans' biggest offensive threats, all get going at the same time so far this season. What do you think is the key to getting A.J. Brown catches, Julio Jones catches, and Derrick Henry yards on the ground as well?
Well, in Caroline, neither you nor I have ever coached high school football, but I would say that we're smart enough to know that if we have Derrick Henry on our high school football team in some small school classification, we're probably giving him the ball a lot too.
That's probably my philosophy. If I take Mike Vrabel's job, if that day ever comes, I'll just say, hey, that big man out there, you go ahead and you just give him the ball.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and make sure that guy gets 45 carries a game, and then we'll be okay in our classification. I think
hand me the Lombardi at this point.
Exactly. Now on the Titans, I'm with you. A.J. Brown's start is a little bit concerning. I think he'll figure it out. They got to find ways to target him a little bit more. Julio Jones made a huge leap from week 1 to week 2. I thought he looked slow. He looked like a guy who hasn't practiced because he hasn't in week 1. Whatever practice reps he got, whatever time he got with Ryan Tannehill worked. I thought he looked a lot better, looked sharp in week 2. A.J. Brown with I think it was really 3 pretty clear drops in the game against Seattle. He's got to get better. And I think the Titans, need to do a better job of finding ways to target him. This offense, I've said it before, runs through Derrick Henry. But if you're looking to distribute the football, you're looking at 1, A.J. Brown, 2, Julio Jones. And teams are going to try to take that away. I understand that. But you still have to find ways to get those guys the ball. Michael Pruitt is a great story. It's great when he can have a nice game like that. You're paying A.J. Brown and Julio Jones to throw them the football, not Michael Pruitt. So they're going to have to find ways to get all of those guys involved. But I think especially starting Sunday against the Colts with A.J. Brown.
Colts come in this Sunday, still a question mark at who's going to start at quarterback. Carson Wentz did practice today. Is it cocky for me to say that I don't really care who starts at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts? I think this very much so should be and will be a win for the Titans.
I'm with you. I think the Titans get it done this weekend. I will say the Wentz thing is odd and has me having a slightly different feeling about it. The Titans should absolutely win against Jacob Eason or Brett Hundley or whoever would start if it's not Wentz. Also, the Wentz injury report of ankles is the most old person injury report ever. Like when your grandfather says that, I have bad knees, not singular, but knees, like they can, you can feel a storm coming in your knees. When I saw ankles, I'm thinking, does Carson Wentz, does he feel a thunderstorm coming on in his ankles if both of his ankles are injured at the same time? So look, if he's back and ready to play, good for him. He's a tough guy. That's pretty cool that he's going to come back from that. I still think this is the Titans' game to lose on Sunday. They figured some things out in the second half. They need to beat this Colts team. But we were also saying the same thing a year ago when they came to town on Thursday Night Football, and they got smashed pretty good by the Colts in that game. So this is a rivalry that's got some weird things that happen in it. So I'm not resting easily on the Colts right now, but I'm with you, and I think that the Titans show up and play more like that second half in Seattle Titans team, and they find a way to get it done.
And to your point, I think at this point in his career, Carson Wentz can probably feel a storm coming in probably every joint in his body. The guy's hurt and torn and broken, just about everything there is to break in your body.
Do you think that he's got like a different sense, like he can sense a hurricane in his shoulder and then like a tropical storm in his knee and then just a rain shower in his ankles, that he feels different storms, different ways in each part of his body?
He just might. I mean, Marvel might write their next great film about him, like this super weatherman.
Yes. What do you think Davis Mills feels in his neck? Can he feel storm? Because I saw your tweet and that picture, and we talked about on our show today too. That not only is one of the longest necks I've seen, I'd love to see video of what he does to work out that neck, because it's both long and wide and strong looking.
It's wider than his skull.
Yes.
It's like it comes out at an angle. I don't know how it is humanly possible, and I don't know what kind of added advantage that gives Davis Mills, but it is the thickest neck that I have ever seen. And when I saw David Culley just grab him by the neck, I thought, oh, that's going to take 2 full hands to wrap it all the way around his neck. I mean, absolutely astonishing.
You know, the viral videos of Derrick Henry working out, we need viral videos of Davis Mills working out that neck. We need whatever neck rolls he's doing. If he's putting, 100-pound weights around something around a towel and lifting them up, whatever he does for that neck, we need to find out.
Let the band play neck, and I will leave it at that. Outkick 360's Chad Withrow joining us. Chad, we appreciate you. We will see you next Friday.
Yep. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Coming up next, we will make our picks for the weekend. We've got Carolines and then six-pack picks. You are listening to Stillman and Company, and we are live on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans, Colts. Division rivals renew acquaintances in Week 3 at Nissan Stadium. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard, live from Rock Bottom Brewery and Restaurant on Broadway. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey. Hey. Nice tailgate setup.
Thanks. Dos Equis?
Sure.
Really hits the spot.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, I hope your team never wins as long as I'm alive.
Same to you.
A dose of respect. Brought to you by Dos Equis, proud sponsor of college football. Get a dose. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2021. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Dropkick Murphys and Rancid are back with Boston to Berkeley 2. Dropkick Murphys. Rancid. This Friday night at Ascend Amphitheater. Buy tickets now at livenation.com. Don't miss Dropkick Murphys and Rancid live in concert, part of the Journeys concert series.
Eyes, teeth, we love your whole face. Protect your employees' overall health by adding Delta Dental and Delta Vision plans to your benefits package. These plans offer cost savings and the largest networks of providers. Learn more at deltadentaltn.com.
We can see your smile, and we think you should be able to see it too. With Delta Dental of Tennessee and Delta Vision, we can improve your overall well-being by keeping your teeth and eyes healthy. Visit deltadentaltn.com to find an affordable plan.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Fall is here, and that means the cold winds of winter are coming. It's a great time to replace those old, drafty windows. Pella is the leader in the industry for top-quality window and door products. But Pella Windows and Doors are also affordable, extremely affordable. Pella has payment plans less than $95 a month to replace your windows. So, I suggest you purchase your windows and doors from the experts at Pella of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving Fireball Hot Take Friday. Glad to see me.
I am happy. I missed you. Missed you the past hour. Happy to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. You know,
happy you had a nice little break.
Just so happy. So happy to be here on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. So I heard you and Robbie and Chad talking about the Vols. And I was listening earlier today, just driving around, and I was listening to us, and I was listening to Robbie and Rex Road, and I was listening. How big is this Vols-Florida game? And I don't mean this in like a mean way. Like the Vols-Florida, we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. Vols, Florida was like the game when I was a kid. And both teams were national contenders, and Alabama was awful at the time. And the West kind of had a revolving door. Saban at LSU was pretty good. And I want to say Arkansas was good one of those years, Houston Nutt. But Ole Miss, Mississippi State wasn't good. And the West was whatever. The East, Florida and Tennessee and Georgia. And that was.
And how the tables have turned.
It is for the last decade plus. So I do wonder this. How big of a game is this? Because it's been talked about a lot on the radio, not just, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but listening to other people talk about it. And I'm not saying that, we do what everybody else does, but I also don't think that, we're the smartest people in the world, bar none, so we can't, whatever. So how big of a game is this?
So from the Florida perspective, you can say that this is a big game because a win just pushes you that higher up in the SEC East standings, and it gets you that much closer to an SEC championship visit. I think that's how Florida fans can look at it. All right, let's get past this one, and then we're going to keep on rolling. We're going to recover from a loss against Bama. We played great against Bama. We're going to keep moving forward and see if we can come back and maybe rematch in the SEC championship. If I'm a Florida fan, that's how I look at it. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I look at it as this is the biggest test that Tennessee has had on every side of the ball. They've never seen such a run-heavy offense so far this season. They haven't seen such a staunch defense so far this season. This is really Tennessee's biggest test so far. Yeah, we learned a little bit during the Pitt game, but when it comes to the SEC, when it comes to teams' rivalry games, this is the biggest test that Tennessee has seen so far. So I think as Tennessee fans, I don't know how high your expectations can necessarily be, but I think as a Tennessee fan, you can say, okay, how big is the gap between Tennessee and the teams that are competing for the SEC East, the teams that are in the national conversation? How can we hold up against this run-heavy Florida offense? How much can we reuse our offense that has designed to be such a pass-heavy powerhouse? Can we start to execute that a little bit? So I think that as a Tennessee fan, you can't necessarily watch for a win. You can hope to cover. You can hope to not necessarily get blown out by Florida, but I think you need to look at this game as a way to say, okay, where are we? What is our benchmark in terms of the SEC East?
Which quarterback do you play?
I think you have to play Hendon Hooker.
Thank you. Oh, thank God.
I think you have to play Hendon Hooker for a few reasons. If Joe Milton is not 100% healthy, then Joe Milton being out there, I don't think is the difference between a Tennessee win and a Tennessee loss. So you're not going to bang him up even more going into the rest of the season. Also, I kind of like what I saw from Hendon Hooker against Tennessee Tech. And of course, that's Tennessee Tech, and that's going to be an incredibly easier task than playing the University of Florida. But I liked what I saw against Hendon Hooker, and I would like to see a little bit more of a sample size from him.
I can't comment on what you saw from Hendon Hooker in the Tennessee Tech game.
Yeah, since you would rather just sit in silence than watch the Tennessee Tech-Tennessee game.
First of all, meditation has its benefits.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, you're the only person I know. I take that back. I know somebody else. But you are one of the only people I know. And the other person I know, I only know because I know you, that watched the Tennessee Tech game. Actually invited me to watch the Tennessee Tech game with him. So I was very, very excited about that. I thought Hendon Hooker looked pretty decent in the Pittsburgh game. And I would go with Hooker because Joe Milton is what he is. He can run with the ball, and he can chuck it downfield about 85 yards. And he has demonstrated to me that he can't connect with anybody 85 yards down the field. He can throw it 85 yards down the field, but he can't throw it to anybody 85 yards down the field. So to me, not to be, the big bad guy around here, but to me, I just kind of feel like, fine, go with the guy, Hooker, that's been here longer and also, has more accuracy. Would you say that that's a fair thing to say about Hendon Hooker, that he is by far the more accurate quarterback?
I mean, I don't know how you find a less accurate quarterback than Joe Milton, because it honestly is kind of a shame because he has a heck of an arm. If he can just get it in a receiver's hands, Tennessee could have the potential to be really good and put up big time points. But that's a really big if. He can't put it in a receiver's hands. So I think you make a good point in that we've seen what Joe Milton can do. We've seen who he is. He has a great arm. He has no accuracy. Tennessee has to rely on the run game whenever Joe Milton's at quarterback. And I think you at least have to try something different.
So the other thing I thought about is the 2:30 CBS game, and I know we're going to pick this one too. The 2:30 CBS game tomorrow, Texas A&M at Arkansas. If Arkansas wins, they're going to celebrate Sam Pittman like he is the greatest coach in the history of Arkansas and the greatest coach in the history of the SEC West. And I have two thoughts on that. First of all, I am not going to be the person that says that Sam Pittman isn't the greatest coach in Arkansas history. Who was it? Broyles? He's the best, won a national title in like the 50s. But I'm not going to say that he's not a great coach if he wins this game, because 2 years ago, Arkansas was an embarrassment, and they were coming off of a 2-win season. And I remember SEC Media Days being like, this team is worse than Vanderbilt. And now they're a top 20 team. They're playing on CBS against A&M with a chance to get a big game. And if they do, you got to give Sam Pittman his due. Think about this. He entered in 2020, so his first year was the COVID year where everybody complained and moaned and groaned about, oh, my God, can you believe this or can you believe that? No. Like, he did it, and I got to give him credit for that. The second thing is, I would tell Sam Pittman, if you win, whatever you do, whatever it is you do with your life after this, stay at Arkansas. Because every big job will now circle Sam Pittman for that job if they win this game. He'll be the talk of the country. And what I've learned is when you're that hot coach, stay. When you're the hot coach, unless the NFL calls, stay. Just stay. Because the second you leave, you'll get as much money in Arkansas as you get anywhere else. But the second you leave, there are big expectations. Ask Tom Herman what that's like. Ask Charlie Strong what that's like. Ask all those guys that if they love you and you're at a Power 5, just stay and get your money. And even if Arkansas goes back in the toilet for a little bit, the fans will still remember, hey, remember when we beat A&M that day on CBS? So that would be my advice to him. Time now for Carolines. Caroline, tell us about BetUS.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS, America's favorite sports book for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention game, and get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. We've got a game tonight, Liberty, Syracuse at Syracuse, kickoff at 7 o'clock tonight. Give me Liberty against the spread. Liberty -6.5. So Malik Willis, Liberty starting quarterback, I think is one of the, if not the most underrated quarterbacks in college football. He is unreal. Last season, he led the team in passing yards and rushing yards. He is a threat on the ground. He's a threat in the air. He followed Hugh Freeze to Liberty, was originally at Auburn, transferred to Liberty, and has absolutely lit it up at Liberty. I don't think there's really anything too special about Syracuse. So I think that Liberty wins by at least a touchdown. And Liberty against the spread -6.5. And I believe that's at -112.
I was stunned that this was the game that you picked of the games to pick. I'll take Liberty too. Syracuse is awful. I know they're 2-1, but forget about Syracuse. Liberty's a good school, well coached by Hugh Freeze. I'll take Liberty.
Mm-hmm. We've also got Notre Dame, Wisconsin tomorrow. That game being played in Chicago, so it should be a fun one. But I'm going to take Wisconsin on the money lines. Notre Dame is 3-0 so far in the season. Wisconsin 2-1. But Notre Dame's first two wins weren't necessarily pretty. I don't think their record necessarily indicates how good of a program they actually are. A 3-point win over Florida State, who is down this year. Toledo just barely squeaked by with a win, the 3-point win. Now, Wisconsin, on the other side, has yet to throw a passing touchdown so far this season, but they have put up 438 yards of offense in their first two games and only been matched by 194.5-ish by their opponent. So they've put up a ton of offense and stopped their opponents from putting up a ton of offense on defense. So their only loss was to a 16 10 lost to Penn State, a team that's now ranked 8th in the country, a team that's looked outstanding so far. So I do think that even though Wisconsin has the worst record so far in the season, I think they're a better team. Also, fun fact, Notre Dame's quarterback, Jack Cohen, transferred from Wisconsin. So I wonder, I don't know what the over-under on the mentions of that tonight or tomorrow on the game will be, but nice little fun fact there. But I'm going to take Wisconsin on this one.
I'm going to take Notre Dame plus 6.5. The game's in Chicago. That's a home game for Notre Dame. Then again, everybody travels to Notre Dame, so I guess I'm going to take Notre Dame plus 6.5. I get the points here. I like it. I'll take Notre Dame.
We also, like you mentioned, the 2:30 SEC CBS primetime game, Texas A&M, Arkansas. I am going to take Texas A&M, but the money line is -220. Not great value there. The spread is 4.5, which I think could be kind of tricky because I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M just barely squeaks by like a field goal. But the value is just so much better. Texas A&M -4.5, -110. And I do think that Texas A&M is going to want to make a statement win against Arkansas, especially an SEC West rivalry there. And I do think that Texas A&M has a lot to prove. So I'm going to go ahead and take Texas A&M against the spread. And, I know that we're singing Sam Pittman's praises, but would we be doing that if he was coaching at any other school than Arkansas? You match up Jimbo Fisher and Sam Pittman. I take Jimbo Fisher every day.
I'm riding Sam Pittman's train. Give me the Razorbacks. Pig, Suey, Razorback. I'll take Arkansas in this one plus the points. Go ahead and give me that one. We got to get the Vols game in here. We got to sneak that one in there.
Vols, Florida. The line is shifted. It was 21.5. Now it's Florida -18.5. I'm going to take the Vols plus 18.5. I think that's kind of a wide spread. What? I'm not a homer. I'm not a Tennessee fan. But I just think that's a wide spread, and I feel like it's a little bit dramatic of a line. And I mean, the Vols could absolutely get clobbered. I'm not counting that out as a possibility. But I do think that the Vols at least close in. I mean, if they lose by 2 touchdowns, that's kind of a pretty statement loss. I'm going to take Vols plus 18.5.
Okay. Can I make one pick if Joe Milton plays and one pick if Hendon Hooker plays?
No, that's not allowed.
Okay. I'll lay the 18.5 with Florida. I just think they'll just run. I'm so torn, but yeah, run.
They will run all day.
And I just think Tennessee doesn't have the firepower to match it. Tell us about BetUS.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS. It's my favorite sports book, and it's also been America's favorite sports book for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention game, and you can get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit.
Coming up next, six-pack picks. Ian will let us know how we did. We'll get to that coming up next. Fireball Hot Take Friday here on Stillman and Company, which I'm very, very excited about. Hey, be sure to join us for the pregame show. That's right. We'll be live at the Rock Bottom Brewery downtown this Sunday. The pregame show features Mark Howard, Chris Sanders, and yours truly. 9:30 to 11:30 at Rock Bottom downtown on Broadway. The pregame show brought to you by TriStar Moving, Parman Tractor and Equipment, and FreedomTireGuys.com, FanDuel, E2 Roofing, Hillside Medical, Social Furniture, and Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Stillman and Company, CSP at 102.5 The Game.
Into the middle 50s, so a brisk start to your Saturday. Both days of the week on Saturday and Sunday, mid to upper 70s, loaded with sunshine and no chances for rain.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car. To meet certification standards, a car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Has she seen an engagement ring she really loves? A unique look from a top-notch designer? You won't find it at just any store, but you will at Genesis Diamonds.
At Genesis Diamonds, we work with the most sought-after designers in this country. We are proud to feature lines like Tacori, Verragio, Kirk Cara, Henry Dawsey, A. Jaffe, Jeff Cooper, Gabriel, and many more.
Since other jewelers can't get these designers, David says beware of knockoffs.
Often stores will result to copying or knocking off a designer ring just to compete with Genesis. And oftentimes you will actually pay the same, if not more, for that fake.
Why risk it? Genesis has the real deal. Unique, handcrafted, cutting-edge designs and award-winning craftsmanship.
So not only will you get the exact product you wish with the brand you trust, but at a price that you can afford.
Get her the ring of her dreams at Genesis Diamonds.
Every girl wants a designer ring. They don't want Joe in the back room to make a copy. They want the real thing.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron. BetOnline.net is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football odds and news this season. Get all the updated info on players, teams, and odds to help you with your new football contests, leagues, and new survivor pools. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports. Pro sports, MMA, championship boxing, golf, horse racing, they have it all. Bring the game home with BetOnline.net, where the game starts.
Bode Nashville is a chic and stylish downtown Nashville hotel, walking distance to some of Music City's most popular spots. Bode Nashville is also home to Sidebar, an in-house cocktail bar, perfect pregame spot on your way to a ball game, a show at Ascend Amphitheater, Broadway, or as a nightcap after exploring the city. Join Jared and Caroline on Monday, September 27th, live at the Bode Nashville for a Titans edition of Stillman and Company from 2 to 6. We hope to see you there. Bode Nashville is located at 401 2nd Avenue South in Sobro. See you on Monday.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, Craneworks. The Craneworks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give Craneworks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth-moving equipment. Call Craneworks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
Darren McFarland.
And a mulligan that we all look for in golf. Lord knows our game could use it.
Willie Donick.
Outworked and outperformed a lot of other really good players.
Chase McCabe.
I want some sort of trade protection.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
All right, Stillman and Company, it's time now for six-pack picks. Ian, how did we do it? Six-pack picks brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. I love Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. They did take great care of everybody. Ian, how did we do last week?
Last week, it was a reversal from the week before. Jared went 2-4.
Oh.
Caroline went 4-2.
Oh.
Jared missed the Rams, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Kansas City. Got Buffalo and the Titans. Caroline missed the Rams and Kansas City, but got Buffalo, the Raiders, Dallas, and the Titans. So now our season records are now even at 6-6.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay, we will start noon. CBS. Seven. Caroline, who goes first this week?
I'll let Jared go first since he's the underdog after last week.
Chiefs. I think the Chargers, man, I'm disappointed. I thought the Chargers should have just blown the doors off the Cowboys. They didn't. I was disappointed. I think the Chiefs are going to be furious with how they screwed the game away against Baltimore last week. I'll take the Chiefs.
I'm going to take the Chiefs -7 also. I just think, I'm not low on the Chargers by any means this year, but I am with Jared in the fact that they are probably pissed after that loss against Baltimore last week. So I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Okay, continuing on CBS. Dolphins at the Raiders. 305. Over-under on this game is 44. Vegas, -3.5.
Ooh, this is a good one. I am going to take the Raiders -3.5. I mean, they have been on a roll so far this season, and I don't think that the Dolphins necessarily present a big enough threat to the Raiders, so I'm going to go ahead and take them against the spread.
I'm going to have to take the Raiders. You know, Tua's out with the rib injury. When I look at the Dolphins, and I know they won some games last year, but, like, I just don't I just don't think they're very good. Like, I look at their team, and I'm like, this is a team that if you played – kind of like all the Dolphin teams have been for like the last decade, where like if you go and play the Dolphins and you play like crap, you'll lose. But the Dolphins have never been a threat to do anything in the playoffs or barely even a threat to make the playoffs. I think this Dolphin team is just like those Dolphin teams. And no Tua, no thank you. Give me the Raiders. I think that was pretty simple.
Especially without Tua.
Okay, moving on to the NFC. The Bucs at the Rams. This should be a fun game.
Ooh.
325 Fox. Over under on this game is 55.5. Tampa Bay -1.
I will take the Buccaneers. I'm just not that impressed with the Rams. The Rams are going to have to run the football because what they're going to do is Tampa Bay is going to unleash those pass rushers all over Matthew Stafford. And I think ultimately the balance that the Bucs have on offense is better than the balance the Rams have. I think Brady's going to get the ball out quick. He's going to stay away from Jalen Ramsey. I'd expect a big game from Gronk. I'd expect a big game from Scotty Miller, who will be in there for AB. I think the Buccaneers get it done.
I'm also going to take the Buccaneers -1, and I think I'm also going to take the over on this game. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a pretty close scoring and also very high scoring. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a 38-35 Bucs win here. So I'm going to take the over as well.
Okay, Sunday Night Football. The Packers going to San Francisco, taking on the 49ers, 7:20 NBC. Over-under on this game is 50 even. San Francisco -3.
I'm going to take the Packers +3. I think that this may be motivated by being absolutely blown out against the Saints and not having a totally convincing win against the Lions. Like, yeah, they beat the Lions by a few touchdowns, but I mean, it wasn't anything that I saw that I thought, oh, wow, the Packers are back. You know, week 1 was just a flub. But I do think that this is going to be kind of put up or shut up for the Packers, and I think that they know that. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to let that team stomp all over him. So I'm going to take the Packers. We're the +3?
That's correct.
+3.
I'll take San Francisco. I think Rodgers is tearing that thing apart. Cross-country flight. They've been brutal at San Francisco over the last couple of years. I don't love San Francisco, but I have no idea if the Packers are any good. So go ahead in San Francisco and give me the 49ers.
This week's Monday Night Football game, 7:15 ESPN. Philadelphia Eagles going to Dallas to take on the Cowboys in Jerry World. Over-under on this game, 51.5. Dallas -3.5.
I'll take Philadelphia. I've been telling people with the FanDuel Sportsbook app, you know, the reads that I've been doing this week, that I would take Philadelphia. Dallas has impressed me through 2 weeks. I mean, I spent all offseason crapping on Dallas, and Dallas doesn't look to be that bad. I think I'm going to take Philadelphia. I just don't trust Mike McCarthy, and I just don't trust that defense, and I'm getting 3 points here. Go ahead and give me the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm going to take Dallas on this one. I mean, I was pretty low on Dallas coming into this season. I thought no way Dak Prescott couldn't come back and be what he was pre-injury, especially coming in with another injury. But that team and Dak have very much so proved me wrong, so give me Dallas on this one.
All right, and that brings us to our last game here. Indianapolis Colts coming to town to take on the Titans. Noon, CBS. Wentz looks to be a game-time decision. Got in a limited practice today. Over under 48. Titans right now -5.5.
I'm gonna take. See, I don't know. 5.5 is tough, but I'm for Titans to win. 100% Titans to win. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Titans against the spread -5.5. I think the Colts coming in here with so many questions at quarterback. Carson Wentz did practice today, but will he be 100%? Probably not. They're gonna rely heavily on the run. The Titans know that. Titans have more threats on offense than the Colts do coming into Nashville. So, yeah, give me the Titans -5.5.
I'm going to go Titans 19, Indy 14. So I'm actually right there at the 5. So I'm going to take Indy plus the 5.5 here. But I'm going to go Titans 19-14. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think this is going to be an ugly game on Sunday. I hope it's not. I hope the Titans blow them out. I think it's going to be an ugly game on Sunday. But again, Titans 19, Indy 14. So I'll take Indy plus the 5.5. That's going to do it for us. Again, six-pack picks presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. We are out of here. We will be back Monday at 2 for a Reaction Monday. The pregame show starts 9:30 on Sunday. Money Line comes up next. We'll see you.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, vine-ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide